From a blind date came a sister who is a CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Buying a Luxury Car. Are you asking for a beating? Su Weifeng said unhappily. Wei Lijun suddenly grinned and said, look, I was right, wasn't I? I was so angry, weren't I? I was right about you. You are really amazing. Amazing. This kind of thing, it's not something that ordinary people can do well. Su Weifeng really wanted to slap this guy out, pulled Lin Zhuangsun, and said, let's go. It's really annoying to meet such a self-righteous guy. Wei Lijun said triumphantly, don't go. You are trying to coax the woman to buy you a car. These are all high-end cars. You can't just give up. Haha, you didn't serve her well. You didn't even let you buy a car worth hundreds of thousands. Idiot. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth and spat out these two words. Haha, if I tell you the truth, I'm afraid your wish of getting someone to buy a car will be dashed, right? My beautiful lady, if you spend money on a man like this, you'll be at a big loss. Wei Lijun was not satisfied with just talking about Su Weifeng, so he also talked about Lin Zhuangsun. Lin Zhuangsun thought this was quite funny, but she didn't expect this guy to talk about her again. Looking at Su Weifeng's dark face, she chuckled and said, then you are wrong. I'm happy to spend any amount of money on him. Wei Lijun's face turned dark, and he said, beauty, you are stubborn. You have to stay sober. I'm very sober. I just like men like him, dear. Come, let's take a look at cars. I will buy you a good car today. Su Weifeng slapped Lin Zhuangsun on the back and said, you are still fooling around with such an idiot. Lin Zhuangsun giggled and leaned close to Su Weifeng's ear and said, it's rare to see you make a fool of yourself. How fun. Su Weifeng really didn't want to compare, but in front of this guy Wei Lijun, if he couldn't make him recognize the situation, he would have to talk nonsense when they met in the future. Wei Lijun, don't you believe that I'm better than you? Well, today I will compete with you. I will buy whatever car you want. Oh my god, do you really want to compete with me? Wei Lijun's eyes lit up. Su Weifeng said impatiently, nonsense, otherwise you will be like a duck and quack in my ear every day. Okay, you said that. Wei Lijun narrowed his eyes, looking like he was sure of victory. Of course, I'm not in the mood to nag with you here. Wei Lijun laughed and said, okay, come on, let's go and take a look at the BMW X5. Okay. Su Weifeng agreed very happily. Such a car is definitely not something that ordinary people can afford. Wei Lijun did not buy it by himself, but accompanied his friends to buy it. He had come to see it many times, and this time he came to order a car. Come on, let's place an order right away today, and order one directly. Wei Lijun greeted the car salesperson in the store. Okay, Mr. Wei. The girl had received Wei Lijun several times, so she immediately started to prepare materials excitedly. Wei Lijun looked at Su Weifeng proudly and said, see, I'm really buying it. Su Weifeng, you should buy one too. Su Weifeng ignored him and said to the salesperson, I won't look at the X5. I want this. He pointed to another car. Wei Lijun immediately curled his lips and said, oh my god, you are really shameless. This is the BMW X7, the latest model. Are you sure you can afford it? The BMW X7 is the latest sub-series. This car is not about performance or anything else. The brand alone is also a reflection of high-end cars. Even the lowest equipped bare car price is about 1 million. The BMW X5 they want to buy has a bare car price of only more than 600,000 yuan, which is almost half the price. Su Weifeng ignored him and said, I'll order this car, just the high-end one. The salesperson was a little confused. She had been listening beside him and was really skeptical of Su Weifeng's ability to buy a car. She said cautiously, sir, do you really want to buy it? Nonsense, am I kidding? Su Weifeng said unhappily. Then are you paying in full or taking out a loan? The salesperson asked again cautiously. Full payment. Su Weifeng answered very straightforwardly, it would be best if there is a car in stock and I will take it away immediately. Yes, we have a car in stock here and it happens to be a high-end one, but the color is black, but it costs 1.62 million. Black is fine. Let's go through the procedures right away. Witty Ligon looked at the salesperson preparing the procedures and immediately sneered. Little girl, you really believe him? He is just fooling you. The salesperson looked up at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng frowned and said, do you want to buy a car? If you want to sell a car, don't listen to this idiot talking here. Okay. Don't talk to idiots. The salesperson repeated subconsciously. Witty Ligon's face turned black, and he glared and said, what are you talking about? Sorry. The salesperson apologized quickly and started to work on the contract. After a while, Witty Ligon sneered and said, haha, little girl, you must have worked in vain. In the end, he can't pay. The salesperson lowered his head and said nothing. What if this is true? A car worth 1.6 million yuan, the commission is not small. If it is false, he is just working in vain for a while. Here, aren't there many things that are worked in vain every day? After the formalities were completed, the salesperson looked up at Su Weifeng cautiously and said, Mr. Su, now, you need to pay. Su Weifeng nodded and said, let's go. Witty Ligon immediately followed and said with a smile, I have to follow you. Don't try to find a chance to slip away. I can guarantee that when you get there, you will definitely say that you didn't bring a card with money today. Haha. Idiot. Su Weifeng pulled Lin Zhuangxuan to the cashier and handed a card indirectly. Sir, please enter the password. The cashier inside smiled. Witty Ligon also looked at Su Weifeng expectantly. Su Weifeng quickly entered the password, and then the cashier inside did not respond at all and began to stamp. Mr. Su, please come over to inspect the car. After taking the documents handed over, the salesperson's face flushed with excitement. It has never been so easy to sell a car today. Hey, are you guys mistaken? He hasn't paid yet. Witty Ligon shouted from the side. Mr. Witty, Mr. Su has already paid the full amount. The salesman replied with a smile. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can he have so much money? Witty Ligon's eyes widened immediately, and there was disbelief in his eyes. Idiot. Su Weifeng threw another sentence at him and pulled Lin Zhuangxuan away. Chapter 202 Mengjian. Sitting in the newly picked up BMW X7, Lin Zhuangxuan raised the corners of her mouth slightly and said, come on, you have to serve me well today, otherwise I won't like you. Su Weifeng's face turned black and said, you girl, you are embarrassing me together with that idiot. You're so funny. This is the first time I've seen such a self-righteous person since I was a child. It's so funny. He even treats you like a duck. Haha. Lin Zhuangxuan laughed uncontrollably. Su Weifeng gritted his teeth and said, laugh away. Wait until I get the chance, and then I'll show you how I'll deal with you. After making a few jokes, Lin Zhuangxuan stopped laughing at Su Weifeng and said, you bought such a high-end car just to vent your anger. Could that guy be an agent of the 4S store? Su Weifeng shook his head and said, that guy doesn't have that kind of IQ. I really need to buy a car, and it will be inconvenient in the future. It just so happens that he gave me 8 million, and I haven't spent a quarter of it on this car. That's true. You made a fortune today. It is indeed much more convenient to have a car. Can I drive this car in the future? Of course, we are friends. If you want to drive, you can take it anytime. That's settled. In the future, I will drive a luxury car worth 1,500,000 or 600,000. It will be very face saving. The two came to a 4S store of domestic cars and picked out 2 commercial vehicles worth more than 100,000. The following procedures were handled by the 4S store, so there was no need to run back and forth. After get off work, Su Weifeng came to Hao Zhaoqiang's home. He hadn't come to see Hao Zhaoqiang since he was beaten last time. Hao Zhaoqiang's home was in a village in the city, and they had been talking about relocation, but the real estate market was not good recently, so they didn't move. Many families expanded their houses, so even a car couldn't pass on the small road, so Su Weifeng could only park his car at the intersection. Hao Zhaoqiang's parents knew Su Weifeng and enthusiastically let him in. Zhaoqiang, Weifeng is here to see you. Hao Zhaoqiang was lying on the bed in the room. When he saw Su Weifeng coming in, he immediately sat up and said, Brother Feng, why are you here? I came to see you. Your injury hasn't healed yet? Hao Qiao said helplessly. Well, I'm fine, but my parents asked me to rest for 2 more days and won't let me drive no matter what. Su Weifeng touched Hao Qiao's head and found that the wound was indeed healed. He smiled and said, it's really nothing. I was just saying, I'm going to be bored all day. Let's go out for a drink tonight. Su Weifeng said happily. Okay, let's go out for a drink today. When Hao Qiao was changing clothes, a tall and burly guy came to Hao Qiao's house again. Qiao, I heard that you were beaten up. Damn it, it's really outrageous. Even my brother dared to beat him. I'm here for you. I have to beat them up. As soon as he entered the door, the guy started yelling. Brother Meng, it's okay, it's okay. Hao Qiao said quickly. Brother Feng, let me introduce you. This is Li Meng, my friend. Brother Meng, this is my best friend in high school, Su Weifeng. Li Meng glanced at Su Weifeng, then stretched out his hand and slapped Su Weifeng on the shoulder, saying, since you are Qiao Qiao's buddy, then you are my buddy. If you have any problems in the future, tell me and I will protect you. There is nothing I can't do in this area. Su Weifeng had a good impression of Li Meng. Although he looked careless and a little pretentious, he could feel that he was really here to help Hao Qiao. Thank you, Brother Meng. Su Weifeng said with a smile. Li Meng patted his chest and said, why are you being polite to me? I, Li Meng, have no other skills, but I have a strong fist and I mean business. As long as you are my buddy, I will protect you. Hao Qiao hurriedly said, Brother Meng, Brother Feng and I are going to have a drink. Do you want to come with us? Okay, let's go. I'll treat you today. I know a bar that just opened in the past 2 days. It should be pretty good. Let's go there and have a good drink. The bar is not far from here. The 3 of them didn't drive, and it only took more than 10 minutes to walk there. The bar is very lively. Many people have come now. There is exciting music playing. On the stage in the middle, there is a group of girls dancing there. How is it? Not bad. Li Meng shook his head while humming the music. Hao Qiao also shook his body and said excitedly, not bad, not bad. It's really exciting here. Su Weifeng smiled slightly. He actually didn't like such a place very much. It was too noisy. It's not that he is so noble, but after experiencing too many dangers and too many excitements, he prefers some plain things. He knows very well that sometimes he can't understand the happiness of ordinary people. Many people greeted Li Meng when they met him. Li Meng also enjoyed this feeling and responded to everyone who greeted him. See, Brother Meng, I have a wide network of contacts. If you have anything to say, just talk to me. Su Weifeng smiled and said, okay. After finding a booth and sitting down, Li Meng ordered 24 glasses of wine and a bunch of snacks. He was quite generous. After drinking 2 bottles of wine, Li Meng's mood became even higher. He patted Su Weifeng's shoulder and boasted, you can ask Qiao Qiao. I, Li Meng, am definitely not bragging. Once, 6 people blocked me, each holding a stick. I didn't give in at all. I fought them hard and finally knocked down 2 of them. The remaining 4 were all scared away. Qiao Qiao, do you think this happened? Hao Qiao smiled and nodded, saying, Brother Meng was really powerful that time. If it weren't for you, I would have been miserable. Li Meng waved his hand and said, we are all from the same place. If I don't protect you, who will? Come on, drink. Although he knew that Li Meng must have boasted, it was true that he protected Hao Qiao. Just for this reason, Su Weifeng also had a good impression of him. If there was anything in the future, he could help this straightforward guy. It didn't take long for the 3 of them to drink up the 24 bottles of wine. Li Meng snapped his fingers and a waiter came up quickly. Sir, do you need anything else? The waiter saluted. His voice was very crisp. Li Meng said, give me 24 more beers. The girl hesitated for a moment and said timidly, okay, I have the latest brand of beer here. Do you want to try it? This situation is very common in bars. For promoting new brands, waiters will get a lot of commissions. However, this waiter should be a newcomer, and he spoke carefully, for fear of offending people. In addition, this girl is very beautiful. She should be a part-time job from a nearby university. It is definitely not a good choice for such a beautiful girl to sell alcohol here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203 Dispute. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Li Meng ordered a dozen new brands of wine. The girl thanked him profusely and ran to get the wine. This girl is quite interesting, Li Meng said with a smile. Hao Xiao Qiang laughed and said, you can tell she's a college student who hasn't graduated yet. Are you still planning to take advantage of her? Li Meng touched his head and said, what kind of person am I? I don't even know how I finished junior high school. She's a college student. Not to mention that she doesn't like me. Even if she does, I can't harm her like this. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile and said, Brother Meng, college students are everywhere now, and they are not worth much at all. The most important thing for a man is to have ability. As long as he has the ability and can make money, then not only college students, but even graduate students will have no problem. Li Meng curled his lips and said, don't flatter me. I know this. I earn that little money, and I spend it all before the end of the month. How can I have money to marry a wife? Su Weifeng saw the girl's name tag. Her name was Zhao Xiaoshu. After a few jokes, the girl came over with a drink. When they were 2 tables away from them, a man at the next table suddenly stretched out his foot. Zhao Xiaoshu didn't notice and stepped on his foot, almost falling down. The man stretched out his hand and grabbed the girl's arm, saying, you stepped on my foot. Ah, sorry. Zhao Xiaoshu was frightened and cried out and quickly dodged to the side. With a swing of his arm, he finally broke free from his hand. The man was about 30 years old, with a greasy face. He must have drunk a lot. He laughed and said, why are you hiding, little girl? Don't you want to sell wine? I'll buy your wine. How much do you want to buy? Zhao Xiaoshu bit his lip and asked softly. The man blinked and said with a smile, it depends on your performance. So, if you drink a bottle, we will buy a dozen. If you drink 10 bottles, we will buy 10 dozen. What do you think? Zhao Xiaoshu shook his head repeatedly and said, sorry, I don't know how to drink. If you don't know how to drink, why are you selling wine? Don't you give us face? The man slapped the table and his eyes widened. Zhao Xiaoshu was so scared that his face turned pale and he stammered, what do you mean by you? Yours? You stepped on my foot just now, and I bought these shoes for several $1,000s. Can you afford to compensate me? Now I give you a chance to have 2 drinks with me, but I won't let you, and you are still making excuses here. Now you make your own choice. Do you want to compensate me for the shoes, or drink with me? Zhao Xiaoshu stood there speechless, completely not knowing how to respond. Li Meng slammed the table and shouted, little girl, bring me the wine quickly. What are you doing there? Zhao Xiaoshu wanted to come over immediately, but the man stood up and stopped Zhao Xiaoshu, saying, I haven't finished dealing with the things here. You can't leave. Li Meng's face sank, and he stood up all of a sudden and said, boy, are you deliberately looking for trouble? The man glared at Li Meng and shouted, boy, who the hell do you think you are, and you want to stand up for others? Li Meng's eyes widened, and he said viciously, you're right, I'm going to protect this girl today. What's the point of you, a bunch of grown men, bullying a little girl? We bullied her, so what? Go the hell away wherever you want. Those who pretend to be great in front of me are all dead. The man slammed the table, and more than a dozen people at his table and the table next to him all stood up. Li Meng's face suddenly turned black. He didn't expect that there were so many people on the other side, and each of them looked like someone who was not easy to mess with. With just the 3 of them, they would definitely not be able to beat them. Speaking of fighting, he directly ignored Hao Qiang. As for Su Weifeng, he didn't think he could fight, because his physique was too ordinary. Boy, what's the matter? Are you still going to take care of this? The man looked at Li Meng provocatively. Li Meng gritted his teeth and said in a muffled voice, it's just to compensate you for your shoes. I paid for the girl. Do I need you to pay? I just want this little girl to drink with me. Li Meng, I know you, boy. This is not someone you can afford to mess with. Don't get involved. A guy in the opposite crowd shouted. Li Meng also recognized the man. Although the relationship between the man and him was average, they didn't have any conflicts. This was obviously a reminder to him. Li Meng's face swelled red, and for a moment he didn't know whether he should intervene or not. Zhao Xiaoshu was pale at this time. He bit his lip and whispered, "This, big brother, I want to drink. By the way, it's just 2 glasses of wine, it's not a big deal." The man snorted, then handed a bottle of wine to Zhao Xiaoshu, and said with a smile, "It's very simple, you finish this bottle of beer in 1 gulp, and I won't bother with you." 1 bottle. Zhao Xiaoshu's face was extremely ugly. "Yes, just 1 bottle, drink it." I'll try." Zhao Xiaoshu bit her lip, and raised the bottle. The reason she came here to sell wine was that she was short of money. How could she afford to compensate the other person for the shoes? As for what would happen after drinking the wine, she didn't care. Zhao Xiaoshu had brought the bottle to her mouth, but a cold voice suddenly came over. "You don't have to drink." Zhao Xiaoshu's movements paused, and those people looked towards the source of the voice. The one who spoke was still Li Meng, but it was not Li Meng, but Su Weifeng. "Damn it," Li Meng shouted secretly. If Su Weifeng stepped forward at this time, there would be no room for maneuver. "Li Meng, take care of your people, otherwise don't blame us for not giving face." The guy who reminded Li Meng just now said with his eyes wide open. Li Meng's face was a little ugly, and he lowered his voice and said, "Brother, these people are not easy to mess with. It's nothing to just drink a bottle of wine. As long as the girl is taken away, it's fine." Su Weifeng shook his head and said, "It's okay, I'll take care of it." He stood up and walked over there, saying, "I like this girl." The guys at the 2 tables all stood up again at once. Su Weifeng's words were too provocative. It was clear that he didn't take them seriously. Li Meng had stretched out his hand to grab Su Weifeng's arm, but he didn't know that his hand slipped and Su Weifeng left so easily, which made Li Meng a little confused. What's going on? Why didn't he catch the person just now? Is there something wrong with his hand? Chapter 204. This is too fierce. How Xiao Qiang also stood up at this time. Li Meng hurriedly said, "Xiao Qiang, your buddy is too impulsive. Quickly persuade him. Those people are not easy to mess with." How Xiao Qiang grinned and said, "It's okay. Brother Feng is going to take action. Then there is nothing that can't be settled." "What?" Li Meng's eyes widened, then shook his head vigorously and said, "He is so awesome. Anyway, I believe in him. Let's go. They can't do anything to us." How Xiao Qiang followed with full confidence. Li Meng hesitated for a moment and followed him. He was loyal. Even if he couldn't beat them, he would just be beaten up. Su Weifeng walked over and took the bottle of wine from Zhao Xiaoshu's hand, saying, "A girl who wants to make money should not come to such a place. There are mixed people here, all kinds of messy people." Zhao Xiaoshu nodded subconsciously, but at this time he didn't have much confidence in Su Weifeng. There were only 3 of them, and there were more than 10 people here. Those guys looked at Su Weifeng as if he were a monster. The guy who started the trouble sneered and said, "Boy, are you sure you want to take the blame?" Su Weifeng said lightly, "Yes." Another guy said disdainfully, "Li Meng, where did you get this little brother from? He is more powerful than you." Li Meng's face suddenly turned red, and he was speechless and couldn't say anything. "Very good. If you want to take the blame, drink 10 bottles of wine in one breath, and the matter will be over today." When Li Meng heard this, he immediately said, "I'll drink it." The people over there immediately yelled, "Get out of here, let this kid drink." Su Weifeng said lightly, "Then you each drink 10 bottles, and I won't bother with you." "Fuck. You kid are really looking for death. Kill him." One kid was really fierce. He picked up a wine bottle and swung it at Su Weifeng's head. Zhao Xiaoshu was so scared that she screamed and covered her eyes. She was just a college student. Today was her first day working here. How could she have seen this? Su Weifeng raised his hand and grabbed the other person's wrist. Then he used a clever force to turn the other person's hand in an instant, and the wine bottle in his hand actually hit his head directly. Bang! Crash! With the sound of the wine bottle breaking, the guy groaned, stepped back 2 steps, sat down, and blood gushed out of his head. When he started fighting, those people didn't see the skills Su Weifeng used at all. Anyway, seeing their accomplices being knocked down, They rushed up one by one under the influence of alcohol. Li Meng's face turned black, and he gritted his teeth. It was just a fight, so he just followed suit. He grabbed a chair behind him, and lifted it up. But when he lifted the chair, he didn't know who he hit. He thought that those people should beat them up at this time, but the figures in front of them flew out one by one, and then they couldn't get up. After a moment of distraction, he found that none of the 10 people were standing. Damn. This is too fierce. Li Meng closed his mouth after a while, and stammered out such a sentence. Looking at Su Weifeng's eyes, he was already full of surprise and shock. Hao Xiaoqiang said with a smile. I said, when Brother Feng takes action, there is nothing that cannot be solved. Yes. It was solved so easily. Li Meng grinned. There are watchmen in the bar. Normally, when there is a fight here, the watchman over there will come, but Su Weifeng fought with them too quickly. When the watchman came, the fight was already over. What's going on? Oh my god, Brother Song, what happened? The watchmen came over and were a little confused. More than 10 people were beaten and laid down. This was really fierce, but these people seemed to be in the same group. Then they recognized one of them, that was Song Linfeng, who had a good relationship with their boss. Song Linfeng was the one who teased Zhao Xiaoshu at the beginning. He sat up with his head covered, pointed at Su Weifeng, and said with gritted teeth, fuck, this could hit me. This matter is not over yet. The few people watching the scene subconsciously looked at Li Meng, and then one of them immediately glared and roared, Li Meng, you are really bold. You even dare to hit Brother Song. I think you really don't want to live. I didn't hit him. Li Meng replied in a muffled voice. At this time, he really wanted to admit that he hit him, which would at least be awesome, but he didn't do it at all, and he couldn't admit it, even if he wanted to. It was this kid who did it, just him. Song Linfeng pointed clearly at Su Weifeng again. The few people watching the scene looked at Su Weifeng again. They were not stupid. Su Weifeng knocked down more than 10 people by himself. He was definitely a tough guy. They might not be able to beat him. In addition, such a fierce person might also be someone with a background, so they started to bring out the backstage. Boy, you're really ruthless. Where are you from? Do you know where this is? This is the bar opened by Li Zihao. Li Zihao? Oh, I know that guy. Su Weifeng remembered who Li Zihao was. Wasn't he the guy who caused trouble at the company gate today, and was chased away by Xu Lingling? Do you know Li Xiao? Several people watching the place were a little confused, especially Su Weifeng's address to Li Zihao, which didn't seem to be taken seriously at all. I've met him once. Su Weifeng replied indifferently. The guys watching the place were even more confused, and one of them immediately secretly called Li Zihao. Li Zihao was in the bar today. This was his first time to start a business. The business was very good in the past 2 days, which made him very proud. At this time, he was in a private room on the 3rd floor, drinking with Xu Lingling and some friends. The phone rang, and he answered it casually. Mr. Li, there is a fight downstairs. More than 10 people are injured. Li Zihao was furious and said, which bastard dares to come here to cause trouble? It's Song Linfeng. He came here to fight. I'll be down right away. Don't mess around. Li Zihao was a little overwhelmed. This kid was also quite powerful, and he might not be able to suppress him. Everyone also heard the situation roughly and immediately followed Li Zihao downstairs. Xu Lingling was also very interested in such things, so naturally she didn't fall behind. A group of people came to the scene angrily. Before Li Zihao arrived, he yelled, Song Linfeng, you came here to cause trouble. What do you mean? Making trouble? Make trouble for your mother. I'll have someone beat you up. Song Linfeng had already sat on the chair at this time, covering his head and scolding Li Zihao. Chapter 205 Who wants to take the lead? Li Zihao looked at Song Linfeng first, and then the corner of his mouth twitched. If Song Linfeng had beaten someone, it would have been easier to deal with. But this guy had been beaten in his own store, so this matter was not so easy to resolve. Glaring, Li Zihao said, who is so bold as to hit you, young Master Song? I'll stand up for you. Su Weifeng said indifferently, I hit him. Do you want to stand up for me? Su Weifeng. Xu Lingling saw Su Weifeng only then, and exclaimed in surprise. Then she rushed to Su Weifeng, and said with a smile, why didn't you call me when you came here to play? Su Weifeng didn't expect to see Xu Lingling here. Without Lin Zuangsun, he didn't have to keep people at a distance. He smiled and said, I just came here to have a drink with friends. Xu Lingling immediately said, oh, then if you want to come again in the future, say hello to me, and I'll drink with you. Song Linfeng naturally knew Xu Lingling. The Xu family was much more powerful than their Li family. Now Xu Lingling was actually talking and laughing with the guy who hit him, and from the looks of it, Xu Lingling was still trying to please him. This made Song Linfeng suddenly realize that he might have received this beating in vain. Li Zihao looked at the attitudes of Xu Lingling and Su Weifeng, feeling a little unhappy, and said in a buzzing voice, Lingling, he beat up young Master Song, what should we do about this? Xu Lingling glared and said, he beat him, then he beat him. Song Linfeng, if you are not convinced, come to me. He did not ask the reason at all, simply helping his relatives, and not helping others, and arrogantly took all the responsibilities. Song Linfeng gritted his teeth and said, Xu Lingling, you are a little too bullying, aren't you? Xu Lingling snorted and said, you said I bullied you? Well, then I bullied you, so what? This is so domineering. Song Linfeng gritted his teeth and said slowly, okay, I admit defeat today. You, Xu Lingling, can protect him for a while, but not for the rest of his life. Don't let him fall into my hands. Xu Lingling curled her lips in disdain and said, if you, Song Linfeng, don't mind your life, go ahead and make trouble for him. Xu Lingling didn't mean to help Su Weifeng in the future, but she thought that Song Linfeng couldn't beat Su Weifeng at all. But to Song Linfeng's ears, this was directly the Xu family protecting Su Weifeng with all their strength. Okay. After saying 2 good words, Song Linfeng went straight away with a group of people. Li Zihao sent Song Linfeng out. He had to give Song Linfeng an explanation for this matter, and he had other purposes. Xu Lingling smiled and said, let's go upstairs and drink together. No, I'm fine drinking here. Su Weifeng refused directly. Xu Lingling said directly, then I'll drink here with you too. Su Weifeng rolled his eyes and said, you don't know my friend. Hello, I'm Xu Lingling, what do you call me? Xu Lingling stretched out her hand to Li Meng and Hao Zhao Qiang. Hao Zhao Qiang. Li Meng. Now we know each other, where are you? Let's go drink together. Li Meng took Xu Lingling directly over, and Hao Zhao Qiang gave Su Weifeng a thumbs up and followed him. Xu Lingling's companions were a little depressed at this time, and after hesitating for a while, they all went back upstairs. Su Weifeng shook his head and looked at Zhao Xiaoshu who was still standing stupidly beside him. Brother, thanks to you for helping me this time. I really don't know how to. Thank you. Zhao Xiaoshu didn't dare to look at Su Weifeng, lowered her head, and twisted the corner of her clothes with her fingers. Su Weifeng did help her, and she was very grateful, but Su Weifeng just said I like this girl, so she didn't know what Su Weifeng was going to do to her. This man is so good at fighting, and obviously has a high status. If he makes unreasonable demands, what should she do? Su Weifeng patted her shoulder and said, if you want to find a job, don't go to such a mixed place. It's too dangerous for a girl. Find another job later. Yeah. Zhao Xiaoshu's body trembled when she was patted, and she nodded subconsciously. Then go back early. After Su Weifeng finished speaking, he went straight back to their position. Zhao Xiaoshu waited for a long time, but didn't see any other movements. He looked up and found that Su Weifeng was no longer by his side. He just helped me? Zhao Xiaoshu understood at this time and cast a grateful look at Su Weifeng over there and deeply engraved the shadow of that man in his heart. Brother Feng. Li Meng raised the wine bottle and said with embarrassment, I really didn't expect Brother Feng that you are so powerful. I was bragging in front of you. Now I think about it, and I want to find a hole in the ground to crawl into. Su Weifeng laughed and said, even without me, those people can't do anything to you. Brother Meng, you are still very powerful. Brother Feng, don't embarrass me. If you don't mind, I will call you Brother Feng in the future. Okay, if you encounter any trouble in the future, just tell Zhao Qiang, and I will help you solve it. But let me make a deal. If you do anything illegal, I won't do it. Li Meng patted his chest and said, Li Meng, know this well. I still have a mother to support. If I go to jail, my mother will starve to death. This kid is loyal and filial. He is a good person. If there is a chance in the future, I should really support him. Xu Lingling raised the wine bottle and said, what I admire most is a filial man. Come on, I toast you. Li Meng was flattered. This was the eldest daughter of the Xu family. With his status, it was impossible for him to even get close to her before. Now he could drink with her, and was even toasted. He quickly raised the wine bottle and clinked it with her, then drank it all up. Xu Lingling raised the wine bottle to Hao Zhaoqiang again and said, come on, Zhaoqiang, I'll toast you too. We will be good friends from now on. If there is any opportunity to drink again, you must call me. Hao Zhaoqiang was similar to Li Meng. No matter how powerful Su Weifeng was, he was still a friend of many years. He didn't have any special feelings for him, but Xu Lingling's status and position were indeed too high, which was definitely beyond her reach. Su Weifeng kicked Hao Zhaoqiang under the table. Brother Feng, why did you kick me? Hao Zhaoqiang looked at Su Weifeng with a confused look on his face. Su Weifeng's face turned black. What an idiot. Xu Lingling wanted to use him to get close to her, but this guy couldn't see it at all. Chapter 206. You can't afford to meet our Xu family. Hao Zhaoqiang and Li Meng were both drunk. They didn't care about Xu Lingling's status and position anymore, and started bragging. Xu Lingling was also drunk, and Su Weifeng could even feel that this girl was deliberately trying to get him drunk. Come on, Weifeng, let's have a drink. Xu Lingling leaned on Su Weifeng's shoulder, raised the bottle, and drank most of it. Su Weifeng said unhappily, that's enough. You drank so much. Where can I take you? Su Weifeng pushed her, and Xu Lingling fell back immediately. He could only hold her waist again and said, then I'll call your friends over. Xu Lingling hugged Su Weifeng's arm and said, I won't look for them. They are not as fun as you. Su Weifeng said directly, I'm not your toy. I have a girlfriend. No matter how much you think about me, it's useless. Then I think you're even more lovely. Those guys change their girlfriends every 3 days. They never take women seriously and never know what true feelings are. A man is loyal and persistent. This is a good man. Then you don't have a chance at all. How do you know I don't have a chance if I don't try? Even if I don't succeed, I have tried. I will never regret it in my life. If I don't even try, then when I think about it in the future, I will regret it when I miss such a good man in front of me. Su Weifeng was somewhat speechless. Although he did not have much contact with Xu Lingling, he could see that this girl was very persistent in doing things. It was really difficult to temporarily dispel her idea. I didn't ask you to give me any opportunities. I will fight for opportunities myself. You just need to stop looking at me with prejudice. Su Weifeng simply did not answer and said to Li Meng and Hao Zhaoqiang, okay, it's almost done. Let's go. Li Meng and Hao Zhaoqiang were still a little unsatisfied, but at this time, they still stood up obediently. Su Weifeng's position in their hearts was extremely high. Before the 4 people reached the door, Li Zihao came to meet them. Seeing Xu Lingling almost hanging on Su Weifeng, his eyes were about to spit fire. Lingling, why did you drink so much? Let me take you home. Xu Lingling waved Li Zihao's hand away and said, no need for you. Can't you see I have a friend who wants to take me home? Li Zihao's face became even uglier and said, no. What if he has bad intentions towards you? Xu Lingling curled her lips in disdain and said, do you think that others are like you guys? If Weifeng takes me home, then nothing will happen. Weifeng, don't you think? Su Weifeng felt that Xu Lingling was holding his arm tighter now, and her fingers were still pinching the flesh on his upper arm. These women are really bad. They like to use this trick. Okay, I'll take you there. Xu Lingling immediately showed a happy expression and said with a smile, let's go. Li Zihao clenched his fists and gritted his teeth and said to Su Weifeng, you guy, if you dare to do anything to Lingling, I will never let you go. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, why don't you just drive behind us? You're so stupid. Li Zihao's expression froze, and then he immediately said, wait for me, I'll go get the car right away. After leaving the bar, Li Meng and Hao Zhaoqiang took a taxi and left first. Su Weifeng also helped Xu Lingling into the car. Xu Lingling leaned her head on Su Weifeng's shoulder and fell asleep. Su Weifeng couldn't help shaking his head. This girl is really careless. Isn't she afraid of what he will do to her? Li Zihao's car drove over quickly. Su Weifeng directly pressed the window and said, you lead the way in front. I don't know where to take her. Then he couldn't help but complain in his heart. This Lee Zahao is really stupid. Why can't you just drive them there? More than 20 minutes later, the car entered a high-end residential area and stopped at the door of a villa inside. The houses here are even more high-end than the one Su Weifeng bought. The whole residential area is full of single-family villas, all of which are 3 or 4 stories high. Each villa also has a large garden area. The price of such a house is at least 2 or 3 times higher than the one Su Weifeng bought. Wake up, we're home. Su Weifeng called twice, but Xu Lingling didn't respond at all. He raised his hand and patted Xu Lingling's face twice. Xu Lingling opened her eyes and said, "Are we home?" "Yes, get out of the car quickly." "Oh." Xu Lingling agreed, but closed her eyes again. Su Weifeng was speechless and simply carried Xu Lingling out of the car. At this time, a middle-aged couple walked out of the villa, both frowning. They should be Xu Lingling's parents. "Zahao, why is Lingling drunk again?" Xu Lingling's mother said to Li Zahao with a somewhat blaming tone. Li Zahao hurriedly said, "Auntie, I also tried to persuade Lingling, but Lingling insisted on drinking with this guy, and I couldn't persuade her." "Oh." Xu Lingling's mother immediately cast her eyes on Su Weifeng. She originally thought that Su Weifeng was just someone brought by Li Zahao, but now she found that it was not the case. Xu Lingling's father glanced at Su Weifeng and said directly, "Send Lingling in." Su Weifeng nodded, carried Xu Lingling directly into the living room, and then put her on the sofa, saying, "I've sent the person back, I'll leave first." Xu Lingling's father frowned and said in a dignified manner, "What is your relationship with Lingling?" Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "She and I are just ordinary friends. You don't have to think too much." "Ordinary friends?" Xu Lingling's father obviously didn't believe it. Li Zahao immediately said, "Uncle, Lingling has been very close to him recently and even opened a company opposite his company." Xu Lingling's father's face sank and he looked at Su Weifeng and said, "Who are you?" "I'm just an ordinary person, not a member of a family, and I don't have any thoughts about your Xu family." Xu Lingling. Su Weifeng directly put aside his responsibility. It's not that he was afraid of the Xu family, but it was completely unnecessary to be hostile to the Xu family because of his relationship with Xu Lingling. Xu Lingling's parents then relaxed their expressions, and Xu Lingling's father said in a deep voice, "You are a sensible kid. The daughter of our Xu family is not someone that anyone can marry." Chapter 207 Transparent Glass. This was a bit unpleasant to hear, but Su Weifeng didn't mind. He smiled lightly and said, "You're right, goodbye." After that, Su Weifeng waved his hand and turned around and walked out. Xu Lingling's mother said, "Zahao, how much do you know about this kid?" Li Zahao immediately said, "I don't know much either. I went to Lingling's newly opened company today and met this guy." Xu Lingling's father frowned and said, "Oh, are you sure Lingling opened a company opposite him because of him?" Although Lingling didn't say it explicitly, Lingling said that this guy helped her win a car race some time ago, so she became interested in him. Li Zahao didn't say everything he saw today. He didn't want to tell everyone about Su Weifeng's specialness. If Xu Lingling's parents took a fancy to him, wouldn't that mean he would have no chance? This was definitely his selfishness. When Xu Lingling's parents heard this, they immediately looked unhappy. Xu Lingling's father snorted and said, "He's just a racing driver. Lingling is really making trouble. You should talk to her carefully tomorrow and tell her not to have too much contact with such people. Don't let the Mi family's incident happen again." The latter sentence was said to his wife. Xu Lingling's mother immediately said, "Well, I'll talk to her carefully. Zahao, you should also pay more attention. Lingling is stubborn. If you don't make her really like you, then you have no chance." Li Zahao quickly straightened his chest and said, "I'm working very hard now. I just opened a new bar. Now the business is booming. I will definitely make achievements and let Lingling look at me with new eyes." The people of the Xu family are now almost supporting him to be with Xu Lingling. This is his confidence. The next day, Su Weifeng didn't see Xu Lingling in the company for a whole day. It is estimated that she must have been educated by her family. If education is useful, Su Weifeng will be relieved. However, Su Weifeng feels that Xu Lingling will not be bound by her family. Otherwise, her best choice is to marry into the Mi family instead of being like this now. Lin Zhuangxuan came to his office and sat directly on Su Weifeng's desk. She stretched out her calf and kicked Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng patted her leg in return and said, "Look at you. Do you look like a CEO?" Lin Zhuangxuan said with a smile, "It's okay to pretend to be a CEO in front of outsiders, but it's too tiring to pretend to be a CEO in front of you. Besides, I can't pretend." Su Weifeng shook his head helplessly and let her sit in front of him, saying, "Does the leader have any new arrangements?" Lin Zhuangxuan said, "I was thinking about whether we should do a team building this weekend." Team building? Just go out and play together? Yes, the company's situation has been good recently, and everyone's spirits are very high. I want to do a team building. First, it allows everyone to relax, and second, it can be regarded as a benefit for everyone. The most important thing is that it can make everyone more familiar with each other, and we will have a better understanding when cooperating in the future. Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Zhuangxuan, you are really amazing now, and you speak very well." Lin Zhuangxuan rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng and said, "So many of us are eating with us. If I still play like before, these people won't do it. I can only force them to do it. Okay, I'll go and study it. By the way, how about the small lake we went to last time?" Lin Zhuangxuan hesitated for a moment and said, "That is a bit dangerous. There are bears on the mountain. If we can't take care of so many people and something unexpected happens, it will be troublesome. Then let's just find an island and take a 2-day trip. We will go there on Friday, stay there for 2 days, and come back on Sunday. Then we will organize some programs." This time Lin Zhuangxuan nodded and said, "This is a good idea. Everyone can take a bath and eat some seafood. I agree. In this company, the most lacking thing is people who love to play and make trouble." Su Weifeng found 2 people who were not too busy and asked them to help come up with some ideas and determine a few small activities. The team building was basically finalized. At noon on Friday, everyone set off on the bus. Now there are more than 20 people in the company, and they are all playful and have some talents. Just think about how lively it will be on the way. When we arrived at the dock, we took the boat for more than an hour. When we landed on the island, it was getting dark. It is already the beginning of September, and the days are no longer so long and the temperature is not so high, but one advantage is that we have missed the peak season for tourism, so it is easy to find accommodation. There is no big hotel on this island, so a small hotel is fully booked, which is just enough for everyone to stay. This time, Lin Zhuangxuan and Su Weifeng directly arranged a room. Anyway, in everyone's eyes, the two are just lovers, and it would be awkward if they lived separately. In addition, they often lived together at home, so the two did not feel awkward or uncomfortable at all. Even the clothes they changed were in the same backpack. After sitting in the car and boat for an afternoon, everyone was a little tired, so there was no plan for tonight. After having dinner in the hotel restaurant, it was almost 9 o'clock, and everyone basically went back to their rooms to rest. Lin Zhuangxuan was also a little tired, so she went back to the room with Su Weifeng after dinner. "I'll take a shower first and go to bed early today so that I can have more energy to play tomorrow." As soon as Lin Zhuangxuan came in, she opened her backpack and took out her clothes, not at all avoiding Su Weifeng from seeing the things she took out. Su Weifeng agreed and lay down on the bed. They lived in a king-size bedroom, which was not actually very big. There was a bed, a small table, and the bathroom and toilet were also together. But when Lin Zhuangxuan went in, Su Weifeng accidentally looked over here, and his eyes almost popped out. The bathroom was on the bedside, and it was made of glass, and it wasn't the kind that you could touch. You could see through it almost clearly from the bed. Lin Zhuangxuan inside hadn't taken off her clothes yet, and was also looking at Su Weifeng. The two looked at each other for a few seconds, and Lin Zhuangxuan immediately walked out quickly, walked to the bedside, and looked into the bathroom. Then her face turned black and she said, "Oh my god, why is it transparent? Wouldn't you be able to see me naked while I'm taking a shower?" Su Weifeng coughed dryly and said, "I won't look." Lin Zhuangxuan pouted and said, "You don't look. You clearly looked in this direction just now, and I saw you. I didn't notice it just now. Now I know. Of course I can't peek." Lin Zhuangxuan looked completely unbelieving and said, "Are you sure you don't want to look?" This Su Weifeng hesitated a little, then said affirmatively, I definitely won't look. Chapter 208 I'll help you count the money. I don't believe you. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes widened. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, well, why don't I go out for a walk first and feel the sea breeze here? It's still nice. To be honest, Su Weifeng really didn't believe that he had the self-control. Lin Zhuangxuan lived with him, so he could restrain himself, but that was because if he didn't restrain himself, it would be easy to make irreparable mistakes, so Su Weifeng had to restrain himself. And a few sneak peeks like this were not a serious mistake, and it was also possible to avoid being discovered by Lin Zhuangxuan. This was much stronger than other temptations, and he would really peek, even if it was just a few peeks. Don't forget to get the room card. Lin Zhuangxuan reminded Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng hurriedly came back to get the room card and ran out directly. The sound of the door being locked came, and Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly laughed and went into the bathroom again. While taking a shower, she looked at the big bed through the glass, and her face suddenly turned red and a little hot. Boss Su, why are you out too? Behind the hotel is the beach. As soon as Su Weifeng came over, Sun Yumeng greeted him with a look of surprise, her eyebrows curved into a crescent again. The girl was wearing a long white skirt, and the sea breeze blew. The skirt fluttered with a unique charm. You're in a good mood, Su Weifeng said with a smile. Sun Yumeng smiled even sweeter and said, the company has given us such good benefits and also brought us out to play, so of course I'm in a good mood. Haha, you have also learned to flatter. Sun Yumeng was a little embarrassed and said, no, I'm telling the truth. I have worked in several jobs, and this job is really my favorite and the happiest one. That's good. I'm afraid that the employees are not happy with their work, so we bosses have to pay attention. Sun Yumeng immediately said, everyone is very happy. Privately, when everyone chats, they all say that this company is good. That's not necessarily the case. In everyone's eyes, you are considered a confidant of Zhuangxuan and me, so if there are some bad words, I dare not say them in front of you, so as not to let them reach our ears. Ah, I'm a confidant? Sun Yumeng had a silly expression. Haha, you didn't even know? Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile. I really don't know. I just feel that President Su and President Lin are good to me, so I should work for the company wholeheartedly and never think about anything else. Should I be more careful in the future so as not to get along badly with my colleagues? Su Weifeng said, you don't have to care. Just do what you should do. If you care too much, it will make others more careful of you. No matter where you are, no matter how good the company is, it may not satisfy everyone. Oh. Sun Yumeng seemed a little worried. Su Weifeng stopped persuading her. They were all adults. She had to hone herself in getting along with colleagues. Su Weifeng would not teach her these things. Why did you come out by yourself? Why don't you go shopping with others? It's so late, and it's not very safe to walk on the beach. Sun Yumeng said, Xiao Huan is taking a shower. I was bored, so I came out for a walk. I didn't want to go far, so I just stayed by the side. You came here, and I followed you here. By the way, President Su, why did you come out by yourself instead of accompanying President Lin? Su Weifeng was a little embarrassed, but he quickly covered it up and said, she is also taking a shower, and she is tired, and doesn't want to move. I still have enough energy, so I came out for a walk. Sun Yumeng chuckled, blinked, and said, President Su, the bathroom in this hotel is very romantic. President Lin is taking a shower, and you actually ran out. Su Weifeng's face turned black, and he glared at her, saying, what are you thinking about? Sun Yumeng stuck out her tongue and said, no, I just feel that you two are so loving, and it always feels weird to leave President Lin behind. Su Weifeng snorted and said, girl, you are teasing me too. You are getting bolder and bolder. I don't have any. Sun Yumeng shrank her neck, obviously a little scared. Let's go. It's a bit stuffy today. It should be nice to go to the sea. Su Weifeng quickly changed the subject. Sun Yumeng also knew what to do and said no more. She trotted all the way and stepped into the sea. Su Weifeng looked at her back and was a little absent-minded. Under the hazy moonlight, a girl's skirt was flying and her hair was fluttering. This was definitely a great landscape painting. Even with his unprofessional eyes, it must be beautiful if it was photographed like this. Walking to Sun Yumeng's side, Su Weifeng smiled and said, I should have called the photographer to come out with me just now. What's the matter? Do you want to take a picture? Sun Yumeng asked in confusion. Su Weifeng said seriously, your back just now was really beautiful. I think we should let the photographer take a picture. Even if it is broadcast directly like this, it should be a hit. Ah. Are you talking about me? Sun Yumeng pointed to the tip of her nose. Yes. Su Weifeng nodded. Sun Yumeng's face suddenly turned red. She lowered her head and kicked the seawater lightly with her feet. She said in a low voice, how can I be so pretty? Su Weifeng laughed and said, pretty means pretty. What's there to be afraid of? I always feel that you have a very good image. If I have the chance in the future, I must package you well. If it were an ordinary employee, after hearing Su Weifeng's words, I'm afraid they would think that Su Weifeng was trying to take advantage of you. If the boss wants to package you and praise you, you have to pay a certain price. But Sun Yumeng was simple-minded and didn't think so much. She blushed and said embarrassedly, Boss Su, I'm really embarrassed when you praise me like this. Su Weifeng looked at the girl's embarrassment and said happily, this is your capital. Not everyone has such capital. Maybe you are born to do this. Sun Yumeng clenched her fists, looked up at Su Weifeng, and said, anyway, I will work for the company all my life. I will do whatever Boss Su and Boss Lin ask me to do. I will listen to you. Haha, what if we sell you? Sun Yumeng pouted and said very seriously, if you sell me, I will help you count the money. Puff. Su Weifeng burst out laughing. A person who usually doesn't joke at all suddenly jokes with you, which really makes people's laughter point drop to the extreme in an instant. You girl, you can joke now. I'm not kidding, I'm serious. Sun Yumeng was even more serious. Su Weifeng couldn't help laughing anymore. Sun Yumeng's eyebrows also curved, and a crisp laugh followed. Chapter 209 Releasing Pressure. When Su Weifeng returned to the room, Lin Zhuangxuan immediately said, I thought you weren't coming back. Come and blow dry my hair. Su Weifeng picked up the hairdryer and began to blow dry Lin Zhuangxuan's hair skillfully. He smiled and said, Sun Yumeng and I went to the beach. Oh, there's a little beauty to accompany you. You're really enjoying being a boss. Haha, you know what? I just felt that Sun Yumeng's back running to the beach was particularly beautiful. This is much more artistic than those videos of beautiful women posing. You can watch and shoot it later. Maybe you will become famous. You are really professional. Okay, then I won't pursue the matter of you going out with beautiful women in the middle of the night. Thank you, Miss Zhuangxuan, for your kindness. Lin Zhuangxuan is very relieved about Sun Yumeng. This little girl is very grateful, and she is the kind of person who knows what is good for her. Now when she is with Su Weifeng, no matter if there are many people or few people, even if they are alone, they keep a certain distance. Okay, go take a shower. After blowing her hair, Lin Zhuangxuan took her mobile phone and went to bed. I'm just going to wash like this? Su Weifeng looked at the bathroom and then at Lin Zhuangxuan. Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes and said, I'm tired and don't want to go out. Besides, it's late at night. How can a girl like me go out? But, Su Weifeng rolled his eyes. There's no but. You're a grown man and you're afraid to look. Besides, if I look at you, I'll suffer. Su Weifeng stood there and hesitated. Lin Zhuangxuan glared and said, hurry up. We have to get up early tomorrow to watch the sunrise. Can you still let me go to bed early? Su Weifeng had no choice but to bite the bullet and go into the bathroom. Through the glass, he could see Lin Zhuangxuan's back to this direction. Oh my god, why do I feel a little excited? Su Weifeng's mouth twitched. This feeling really made people speechless. Anyway, this bath had to be taken. Su Weifeng quickly took off his clothes and then washed with the shower head with his back to Lin Zhuangxuan, so that even if Lin Zhuangxuan accidentally saw it, it wouldn't be too embarrassing. Besides, how could Lin Zhuangxuan come to peek at him? For a girl, seeing a man's body is a big loss. But what Su Weifeng didn't know was that Lin Zhuangxuan really turned her head and took a few glances secretly. After taking a shower, Su Weifeng put on his clothes and finally breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that Lin Zhuangxuan still kept her back to him, the feeling in his heart was indescribable. You take a shower too fast. Are you afraid that I will peek? Lin Zhuangxuan turned around and said teasingly. Su Weifeng smiled and said, men take a shower so quickly, just rinse off the sweat on their bodies. Lin Zhuangxuan curled her lips and said, no wonder they say men are stinky men. It really makes sense. Do I stink? How can you bear to sleep together so many times? Su Weifeng said, pulling the quilt over himself. Just bear with it, what else can I do? Lin Zhuangxuan snorted and said, hurry up and go to sleep. This is the first time they have been together since the last time they almost had sex. Although no one has mentioned it again, and they are like normal, lying on the bed and quiet, the atmosphere is still indescribably charming. Weifeng. Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly turned around. What's wrong? With the moonlight, Su Weifeng could see a strange light in Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes, which made his voice seem a little dry. Last time, cough, did you think I was a shameless woman? How could that be? I never thought so. Su Weifeng immediately denied it firmly. But I knew the relationship between you and my sister, but I still. Now that I think about it, I want to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. After saying this, Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes suddenly dimmed and her mood fell to the bottom. Su Weifeng suddenly understood how much pressure Lin Zhuangxuan had been under in the past few days. His arm went directly under Lin Zhuangxuan's neck and hugged her into his arms. What are you going to do? This is not okay, absolutely not. Lin Zhuangxuan looked at Su Weifeng in horror, with her hands on her chest. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, who are you? How could I not know? It was just that we two went a little too far that day, so that led to such a situation. This is a human instinct, and has nothing to do with human nature. You don't have to comfort me. Even if it didn't happen, I still feel that I betrayed my sister. I'm afraid to face her now. Su Weifeng gently stroked her hair and said softly, you really don't have to have such a burden. This is not a betrayal. As long as we are clear-headed, we both know where the line is. Why do we have to care about a little detail? Oh, is that true? Of course. Okay, go to sleep. Su Weifeng's reason was not sufficient, but Lin Zhuangxuan didn't really need a reason. She just needed an understanding, a comfort that would allow her to release the pressure of the past few days. Moving closer to Su Weifeng, Lin Zhuangxuan found a comfortable position and closed her eyes. After a while, Su Weifeng heard Lin Zhuangxuan's long breathing, and she really fell asleep. This made Su Weifeng sigh in his heart. He really didn't realize that Lin Zhuangxuan's mental pressure in the past 2 days was so great, otherwise she wouldn't fall asleep so quickly. Fortunately, there was a way to release it today. It is estimated that with Lin Zhuangxuan's personality, she will be a lively and lovely Lin Zhuangxuan tomorrow. Closing his eyes, Su Weifeng hugged Lin Zhuangxuan again, and he fell asleep quickly. The next morning, Su Weifeng woke up early. He had cultivated the concept of time for many years. Even if he didn't sleep for a day and a night, he would wake up after 10 minutes. He would definitely wake up after sleeping for 10 minutes. Today, we have to watch the sunrise, so he woke up on time at 4:30. Zhuangxuan, wake up, let's go watch the sunrise. Lin Zhuangxuan huddled in his arms, sleeping soundly at this time. Su Weifeng didn't have the heart to call her. Ah, yes, watch the sunrise. Lin Zhuangxuan woke up with a start and sat up directly. Su Weifeng smiled and said, there's no need to be so anxious. Oh my god, it's only 4:30. Lin Zhuangxuan touched her phone, checked the time, and fell back on the bed, then huddled in Su Weifeng's arms again, saying, let me sleep for another 10 minutes. We are scheduled to leave at 5 o'clock. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210. Let's have a swimsuit show. At 5 o'clock, everyone gathered together and climbed to the highest point of the island. Today's weather is really good. The sea is calm. Standing there and looking at the sea and the horizon, the whole person is refreshed. However, it is still a little cold in the morning at the seaside. Those who wear more clothes are fine, but those who wear less clothes, especially those who wear short-sleeved skirts, can only hug their shoulders and shiver. Lin Zhuangxuan didn't wear much today. She also underestimated the cold in the morning, so she didn't bring any long-sleeved clothes. Su Weifeng stretched out his arms and hugged her in his arms. Lin Zhuangxuan looked up and directly enjoyed the warmth from Su Weifeng. Everyone completely ignored the relationship between the two. Who would pay attention to the two bosses showing their love? The sun is coming out. A touch of red light rose on the sea level, and someone shouted in surprise. The photographer started shooting immediately. The rest of the people stared at that side excitedly. The sunrise happens every day, but there are not so many people who really see the sunrise. Everyone in the entire company is seeing it for the first time. Everyone was as excited as a child, cheering and jumping for joy, and some even started to recite the article Sunrise at Sea that they learned in school. Lin Zhuangxuan was also very excited, shouting and jumping with excitement. Only Su Weifeng was very calm here. There was no way, he simply couldn't find the feeling of these people. When performing tasks, he often lurked for a whole night, sunrise, and sunset. That is too much. This kind of thing can be said to be numb. Su Weifeng sometimes thought in his heart that he had experienced too much, which didn't seem to be a good thing, because he didn't feel the happiness that ordinary people could feel at all. After watching the sunrise, everyone went down the mountain to have breakfast, and then went back to the room and changed into swimsuits. The ratio of men to women in the company is still unbalanced. 2/3 are women, 1/3 are men, and the women are basically all beauties. In addition, they all changed into swimsuits, and some girls were bold and wore bikinis, which was a feast for the eyes of Su Weifeng and his group of men. Hey, your eyeballs are about to fall out. Lin Zhuangxuan stretched out his hand and pinched Su Weifeng's arm. Su Weifeng coughed lightly and said, everyone has a desire for beauty. Oh, yes, this can be made into a joke. What joke? Lin Zhuangxuan asked in confusion. Sun Yumeng, who was following on the side, immediately pricked up her ears to listen. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, come to the happiest company and shoot a beautiful woman swimsuit show. It should be very popular. That makes sense. Lin Zhuangxuan clapped his hands. Sun Yumeng immediately said excitedly, it is indeed a good idea. This will definitely cater to the ideas of many men, and the number of viewers will definitely not be small. Su Weifeng shrugged proudly and said, I've given you the idea. The next step is up to you. Then he continued to enjoy this visual feast. Lin Zhuangxuan and Sun Yumeng came together immediately, and the two discussed how to shoot this segment better. What they shot was not the kind of thing where a few beauties just swam in swimsuits, but it had to have a situation and be more attractive. When everyone was playing games, Su Weifeng was a little overwhelmed. Many games depended on reaction speed and body coordination. This kind of gadget was too simple for Su Weifeng. But if he performed too much, it would be boring, so he had to pretend to be the same as everyone else, which was really tiring. The seawater had been exposed to the sun for a while. At around 10 o'clock, the temperature of the seawater rose, and everyone went swimming in the sea. Su Weifeng was not very interested in swimming. There was no way. Once he went on a mission and swam in the sea for 5 hours. But seeing that everyone was almost a novice, splashing in the water, Su Weifeng had to get along with everyone and went into the sea to protect everyone's safety. Men who can swim are still quite popular at this time. There are always a few beautiful women around to teach them how to swim and then take the opportunity to take advantage of them. It is definitely a rare enjoyment. However, the beauties in the company do not come around Su Weifeng. Only Lin Zhuangxuan is there. Are you jealous? Lin Zhuangxuan joked while swimming beside him. Su Weifeng pretended to be depressed and said, yes, it's not easy to have a beautiful woman by my side, but she can also swim, so I don't even have the opportunity to take advantage of her. Lin Zhuangxuan laughed and said, I'll let you take advantage of me. Do you dare to do it? Why not? Su Weifeng turned over and easily changed to the backstroke posture. Then come on, I'm right here. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled and deliberately swam to Su Weifeng's side. Su Weifeng patted Lin Zhuangxuan on the arm and said, I took advantage of her. What can you do about it? Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly chuckled Her posture was messed up, and she quickly stood up and said, "You took advantage of her." Su Weifeng swam around Lin Zhuangxuan and said, "She is a feast for the eyes. Just looking at her is already very enjoyable. Just touching her is even more exciting, and makes people feel overwhelmed." Lin Zhuangxuan laughed even more happily and said, "PFFT, you guy, are you a soldier or a literature student? My literary literacy is definitely not good, but in order to pick up girls, I still have to learn a few words, and pretend to be a cultured person occasionally." The two of them talked and laughed, and they were quite happy. But soon, more and more people came to swim, and Su Weifeng was a little overwhelmed, because they had too many beauties. If these beauties were alone, they would not be too eye-catching, but if more than 20 beauties got together, it would be too eye-catching. From time to time, some young men came to chat with them in groups of 3 or 5. Su Weifeng naturally couldn't stop this kind of thing. After all, they didn't do anything too much. Lin Zhuangxuan also noticed this, and said with some concern, "Will this cause any trouble?" Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "It's okay, we can't stop this kind of thing. We are all adults and they have their own choices, but if someone causes trouble, we are not afraid of him." Lin Zhuangxuan's heart immediately settled down and said, "You are right, with you here, no matter who they are, or how many people they are, if they dare to cause trouble, they are looking for death." As he was talking, 5 or 6 young men walked towards Sun Yumeng and her group of girls, all wearing sunglasses and walking arrogantly. Su Weifeng shook his head, and sighed in his heart, thinking that this was probably the trouble. Chapter 211 Dindi. Xiao Zuli's family is very rich. To put it in the most common and most realistic way, his family has a mine. His family has a large coal mine. Although the price of coal has not been very high in recent years, and it is not as profitable as before, when things were good before, their family had already accumulated funds, and now they still have more than 1 billion yuan. Because of the huge profits, their family's wealth has also accumulated rapidly. Although Xiao Zuli's name has a bit of academic atmosphere, he is actually an Avo-Rish who is uneducated and unskilled. A few days ago, he just spent more than 4 million to buy a yacht, and today he brought his friends to play together. "Brotherly, look, there are quite a few beauties over there." Yes, there are really quite a few. Each one of them is white-skinned, beautiful, and has long legs. Where do they come from? These are either from advertising companies, or those small video companies that do live broadcasts or something like that. These companies are now recruiting some beauties to make money. These guys have played a lot, so they have seen a lot. When they saw so many beauties, they have roughly guessed their identities. Xiao Zuli laughed and said, "It just so happens that we didn't bring any girls this time, so we can invite some girls to go play together." Yes, Brotherly said hello, and the yacht was there, and the girls followed obediently. Several people also laughed, which was full of confidence. As for other beauties, they might not be completely sure, but beauties like these who do live broadcasts are the easiest to get with money. Xiao Zuli may lack other things, but he definitely doesn't lack money. Sun Yumeng and several girls were tired from swimming at this time, and were basking in the sun on the beach, playing with sand, and cheerful laughter rang out from time to time. Xiao Zuli and the others came over. "Beautiful ladies, are you interested in going on the yacht together?" A man invited them directly. Sun Yumeng and the others looked up at them. Sun Yumeng didn't react, but 2 girls' eyes lit up at once. For many people, or the vast majority of people, yachts are definitely the enjoyment of the top rich people, and they are definitely not something that ordinary people can own. Being able to play on a yacht is definitely a rare enjoyment and a capital for showing off. The guy said with a proud look on his face, "See, it's parked at the dock over there. This is our Brotherly's private yacht. Everyone can go and play together." Under the guidance of Su Weifeng, Sun Yumeng still has a strong sense of responsibility for the company, and unknowingly, she also has a little leadership ability. The most important thing is that other people subconsciously looked at her at this time. Biting her lip, Sun Yumeng immediately shook her head and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but we can't go." "Oh, are you afraid that we are bad people? We even have a private yacht, so how can we harm you? It's just that we are all men and there is no fun to play, so we thought of taking you out to play together. Yeah, this is not an opportunity that everyone has." If you can go out and play with our brotherly will be happy and will support you in the future. Don't miss such an opportunity. Sun Yumeng shook her head again and said firmly, I'm sorry, we have our own company to run and don't need this. Xiao Zuli frowned and said, little girl, don't be so harsh. Do you know who I am? A guy next to him immediately said, this is our brotherly. His family has a mine and assets of over 10 billion. If our brotherly takes a fancy to you, the money he spills will be enough for you to struggle for a lifetime. That's right, you little internet celebrities, you really think you are great just because you have pretty faces. In front of brotherly, you are nothing. You don't know what's good for you. Sun Yumeng's face suddenly turned red, and the other girls were also angry. The starting point for these people to come to the company is indeed to become famous and to make money. Some of them even worked as anchors before. But after working in the company for a while, the videos they starred in were not the coquettish poses of ordinary anchors, but like real actors. They played characters and created wonderful stories, so they have already regarded themselves as actors. Their self-confidence has been established. At this time, Xiao Zuli and his gang called them anchors in such a tone, which was an insult. Please be more respectful when you speak. We make a living by our own ability and don't need your charity. No matter how rich you are, it's none of our business. Oh my god, little girl, you are quite tough. Come on, let me see which live broadcast website you are broadcasting on. Do you believe that our Liege will ban you with just one word? Haha, if I don't let you see our Liege's methods, you really don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is. Several people didn't expect that these small anchors would refuse their invitation. They immediately turned their faces in anger and said threatening words. Sun Yumeng's face suddenly became ugly. This was not only their personal matter, but also the interests of the company. If they were banned by the video website because of provoking these people, the interests of the company would be greatly damaged. Who is so powerful that he wants to ban people from my company? Su Weifeng's voice sounded outside, and Sun Yumeng and others suddenly felt the backbone. Mr. Su. Mr. Lin. Several girls quickly walked behind Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangsun. Hey, this girl is pretty. Xiao Zuli and the others were all dazzled when they saw Lin Zhuangsun. Lin Zhuangsun was still a level more beautiful than Sun Yumeng and the others. Lin Zhuangsun frowned and glared back at them fiercely. Boy, are they all your people? Xiao Zuli narrowed his eyes and looked at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng said coldly, yes, you want to bang the people from my company? Xiao Zuli said arrogantly, ha, boy, you are quite good at pretending. Since these are your people, then I tell you, arrange a few girls for us, and I will support your company. Su Weifeng said disdainfully, do you need to support the people in my company? If you want to find girls, go somewhere else. The girls in my company are all regular actors and can't meet your low-level needs. Xiao Zuli's face suddenly sank and said, boy, don't be shameless. Tell me, which company are you from? Let me see if I can deal with you. Really? Yangcheng Dream Film and Television Culture Company, then I want to see how you are going to deal with me. Su Weifeng directly reported the name of the company. Chapter 212. It shouldn't be this style. Many employees and actors in this company still want to become famous and make money quickly like those big internet celebrities. This is a general need of people, and it is not bad at all. But Su Weifeng still wants to establish a cultural atmosphere for the company. He doesn't want these actresses to do something out of the ordinary because of the pursuit of fame and profit. He wants everyone in the company to regard themselves as artists, which can improve their quality and self-confidence. There is another important factor. Of course, he hopes to give employees a strong sense of security so that they can regard the company as their home and will not change jobs so easily because of some interests. So Su Weifeng wants to let them know that the company can protect them from wind and rain as long as they don't want to. No one can force them to do anything. Yangcheng Dream. Haha, very good. Now I will let you know, rejecting me, this is a sad thing. Xiao Zuli sneered and picked up the phone directly, without avoiding Su Weifeng and others. Mr. Ko, this is Xiao Zuli. The person on the other end of the phone was Ko Qingming, who had a conflict with Su Weifeng last time. His father bought the video back and scolded him again before letting him come out again. Zuli, long time no see. Where have you been recently? I bought a yacht, and I'm having fun at the beach. Do you have time? Come over and play with me. Okay, I'm bored. And I'm not far from you. I'll be there soon. Okay, but I have something to do. Please help me with it first. I met an ignorant guy here. He is from a small film and television company in your Yangcheng, called Dream Film and Television Company. It's definitely not a big company with such a lousy name. If they offended you, I'll help you solve the problem and make them obedient immediately. Haha, then I'll trouble you, Mr. KO. When I get here, I will make good arrangements for you and guarantee that you will have a great time. Okay, then I'll make a phone call and take care of your matter. I'll come to your place now. Okay. Xiao Zuli hung up the phone, looked at Su Weifeng with a sarcastic smile on his face, and said, "Boy, now, your company is going to be finished." Really? Su Weifeng's mouth curled up, with a sarcastic smile on his face. Don't you believe it? Do you know who I'm looking for? The last name is KO. Su Weifeng's smile became even stronger. He guessed that the guy he was looking for was most likely KO Kingming. You should know the KO family in Yangcheng, right? The one who called me was KO Kingming, the young master of the KO family. With just one word from him, you don't have to open this company. You're challenging me. Do you really think I'm joking with you? When KO Kingming's name was mentioned, the expressions on the faces of the beauties on Su Weifeng's side were indescribably wonderful. Some people couldn't help but burst out laughing. This laugh immediately attracted others to laugh, and then the laughter became louder and louder, more and more unbridled, and some laughed to tears. Xiao Zuli and his group were stunned for a moment. What was going on? When KO Kingming was mentioned, shouldn't these people be shaking with fear? Shouldn't they be worried that the company would be closed? Why are these people now acting like they heard a big joke? What's wrong with what they said? Fuck. What are you laughing at? A guy was so excited that he cursed. Su Weifeng smiled faintly and said, "Nothing, I just think you are an idiot." Xiao Zula's eyes widened and said, "Boy, but you dare to scold me. Today I'm going to say this. If you don't agree to arrange a few girls for me, I will definitely make your company close down. Okay, then go and work hard." After Su Weifeng said this, he turned around and raised his hand, saying, "Everyone, don't gather here. There's nothing fun with such an idiot. Just do what you should do." Everyone immediately dispersed with laughter. Those who should swim swam, and those who should go to the sun continued to sunbathe. If it were someone else, everyone might still be afraid, but when it comes to KO Kingming, he was a guy who was filmed in a narrated movie in the company, and his reputation had long been ruined in everyone's hearts. How could a person who was so badly disciplined by Su Weifeng and the company still have any deterrent power over the company's employees? Xiao Zuli and the others were completely dumbfounded. This did not have the expected effect at all. "Boy, you are playing with fire." Xiao Zuli glared at Su Weifeng fiercely. Su Weifeng laughed and said, "I can afford it." He turned around and left, not bothering to pay attention to these idiots. This was the first time Xiao Zuli and the others encountered such a situation. At this time, they looked at each other in bewilderment. This boy is so pretentious. He's just the boss of a small company. Brotherly, why don't you play him to death? Another one frowned and said, "Brotherly, this boy must be from a powerful family, right?" Xiao Zuli snorted and said, "Big ass. If he is powerful, KO Kingming would know about it. That guy likes to date little celebrities the most. If it's a powerful film and television company, how could he not know about it? Humph, wait until KO Kingming gets things done, and see how they cry. Anyway, we are playing here for the next 2 days. I'll wait for them to come and kneel down and beg me. I want to play with all the beauties in his company." Walking aside, Lin Zhuangxuan wiped his eyes, trying hard to hold back his laughter, and said, "That guy is so funny. He actually used KO Kingming to suppress us. It's so funny." Sun Yumeng, who was following aside, couldn't help laughing and said, "Yeah, he definitely doesn't know how miserable KO Kingming is with us." Su Weifeng laughed and said, "I guess when KO Kingming comes and sees us, his expression will be very interesting." After laughing for a while, Sun Yumeng pouted and said, "But these rich people are really too much. They just want to bully others and take others lightly. Like President Su and President Lin, you are also rich. Compared with you, they are really far behind. Lin Zhuangxuan laughed and said, Yumeng, your flattery skills have improved. Sun Yumeng's face suddenly blushed, and she said shyly, no, I just felt it. This time, Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan called everyone together to play. After all, it is impossible for Zhao Zuli and his gang to do something bad. President Lin, have you ever played on a yacht? A girl asked Lin Zhuangxuan. Lin Zhuangxuan shook her head and said, that kind of thing is too high-end, I can't afford it. Su Weifeng smiled and said, it's nothing, it's just a boat. President Su, you have played before, then tell us about it? The girls immediately surrounded Su Weifeng curiously. Chapter 213 Who is this? Su Weifeng smiled and said, I have been there a few times, but the facilities inside are more luxurious. Let's put it this way, the difference between an ordinary car and a luxury car is the difference between a yacht and one of our boats. Then we also want to go and have a look. Can't we rent a yacht to play? A girl suddenly made such a bold suggestion. The rest of the people were quiet and looked at Su Weifeng with a kind of expectation and worry in their eyes. It seemed that he was giving the boss a problem. If the boss got angry, the girl who just spoke would be in trouble. Su Weifeng didn't care and said, yachts are usually private and rarely rented out. Besides, our island is not a place where yachts often come to play, so it is difficult for me to help you realize this wish now. Looking at the slightly disappointed expressions of the crowd, Su Weifeng smiled again and said, but this is not a big deal. I believe that it won't be long before I have the opportunity to take everyone to see it. After all, our company is to make movies, and this kind of thing can more or less derive some stories and plots. Sun Yumeng clapped her hands at this time and said excitedly, oh, yes, the Zhao Zuli we met just now is a very good villain. He will definitely be used in our story in the future. Su Weifeng couldn't help but smile, and then praised, Yumeng's work attitude is still worthy of praise. What we want to shoot must be based on life and extracted from life. Only in this way can it be filmed more immersive and more popular with the audience. Sun Yumeng felt a little embarrassed and said hurriedly, I was just talking casually. Lin Zhuangxuan chuckled, waved his hand, and said, this time everyone is just out to play and relax. President Su is not asking you to work anytime and anywhere. Yumeng has the professional sensitivity of being a screenwriter, and you don't have to learn from her. Lin Zhuangxuan and Su Weifeng smiled at each other in tacit understanding. The two of them sang in unison, which not only encouraged the employees, but also relieved everyone from the psychological pressure. Wow, there is another yacht coming over there. After a while, a girl shouted excitedly, yes, yes, this one is bigger, much bigger than Zhao Zuli's. Compared to this, Zhao Zuli's yacht is just like a small boat. Oh my god. To have such a luxurious yacht, this person must be a super rich man. Su Weifeng also looked over there. The yacht was indeed very large. Yachts of this size were rare in China. It was not something that ordinary people could own. Many rich people might be able to afford to buy a yacht, but it would cost a lot to maintain a yacht. If it was just for ordinary fun, many rich people would not want to spend money on it. Everyone envied it for a while, and then let it go. After all, this kind of luxurious enjoyment could only be thought about. Seeing that it was getting late, Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan took everyone to find the best fisherman's restaurant here. Everyone sat at 3 tables and all kinds of fresh seafood were served. Lin Zhuangxuan was not stingy in bringing everyone here to play. He told the restaurant to serve everyone what they liked if there was not enough. However, no wine was arranged for everyone at noon. There were some activities in the afternoon. If they drank, it would be easy to get into trouble. While they were eating, a few more people walked in. They were all young men and women, and they looked extraordinary. Walking in the middle was a girl with a beautiful face and a sweet face. She was obviously the most important person among these people. Hey, it's her. Her name is ZHU. Yes, ZHU Zhuangxuan. Lin Zhuangxuan also saw these people, and said in a low voice first. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, it seems that I can fulfill everyone's dream of riding a yacht. Lin Zhuangxuan immediately understood and said, ah, you said that yacht is this. Su Weifeng nodded and said, it should be correct. Only her family can have such financial resources. After ZHU Zhuangxuan came in, He casually glanced at the people in the store. He didn't care at first, but soon looked in one direction again. A look of joy suddenly appeared on his face, and he walked quickly towards Su Weifeng. Mr. Su, what a coincidence. I didn't expect to see you here. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan both stood up, and Su Weifeng said with a smile, it's quite a coincidence that I can meet you, Miss ZHU, in a place like this. ZHU Zhuangxuan said with a smile, Mr. Su, you are kidding me, you can come, but I can't. Then he greeted Lin Zhuangxuan and said, Mr. Su, are you coming out with friends? Su Weifeng said, no, I brought the company's employees here for team building. That's a very good thing, but I don't know if you can take me with you. We are few in number and the fun is not that fun. It will be more lively with you guys. Su Weifeng would of course not refuse at this time, and was thinking about taking her employees to ride on her big yacht, and said with a smile, that's our honor. Then it's settled. How about we get together at a table? No problem. Zhuangxuan and I will sit with you. I'm afraid you will scare our employees. We are not that scary. The people that ZHU Zhuangxuan brought with them all looked Su Weifeng up and down. Who is ZHU Zhuangxuan? She is the daughter of the most famous family in the provincial capital, the ZHU family. Even in the provincial capital, there are not many young people who have a higher status than her. She is a person who is loved by everyone. Wherever she goes, she is sought after. When she talked to Su Weifeng at this time, she was so polite and even wanted to make friends with him. Logically speaking, the person who can make ZHU Zhuangxuan treat him like this must be a person of extremely high status. The most important thing is that it seems that none of them know him. Then they think about which young big shots have emerged recently, but it seems that none of them can match Su Weifeng. After careful observation, it seems that this guy should not be a big shot. Otherwise, why would he bring employees out for team building? And there are only so few people, which means that the company is not big, and the strength is even more ordinary. In the eyes of others, bringing 20 or 30 employees should be some strength, but in the eyes of these people, it is nothing at all. What is going on? Who is this man? Where did it come from? These people all had big questions in their minds. Chapter 214 Scared away. As soon as he showed up, another table was opened, and Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan sat with them. Su Weifeng smiled and said, last time you treated me to a French dinner, so I'll treat you this time. Then I won't be polite to you, Mr. Su. ZHU Zhuangxuan then introduced these people to Su Weifeng. This is Mr. Su Weifeng. He is very capable, and has done a great favor to our ZHU family. I have to respect Mr. Su. This is Mr. Su's girlfriend, Lin Zhuangxuan. ZHU Zhuangxuan didn't say it in detail, but emphasized that he had done a great favor to their ZHU family, just to remind these friends who brought them not to offend Su Weifeng. Then ZHU Zhuangxuan introduced these people to Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan one by one. These people are either rich or noble. Take any one of them at random, and they are people that ordinary people can't afford to offend. Su Weifeng didn't remember these people, and simply said hello. These people also understood the meaning of ZHU Zhuangxuan's words, and were still quite polite to Su Weifeng. Apart from anything else, who dared not give ZHU Zhuangxuan face? ZHU Zhuangxuan was definitely a very smart woman. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Su Weifeng, she started chatting with Lin Zhuangxuan about company operations and topics that women like. She only chatted with Su Weifeng occasionally. She didn't ignore Su Weifeng, and she also made Lin Zhuangxuan not feel disgusted. The employees in Su Weifeng's company were also guessing the identities of ZHU Zhuangxuan and her friends at this time. Who is that woman? Our general manager Su and general manager Lin rarely go out to eat with others. Looking at her aura, she must be a big shot. Our general manager Su is quite powerful. He doesn't look down on ordinary people. Yes, ordinary people will only suffer in front of our general manager Su. Those who can be looked up to by him must be very remarkable. Everyone was eating and chatting, and several people walked into the restaurant again. Master KO, I'm really angry about what happened today. I've never lost face like this before. These are people from your Yangcheng. You have to get this face back. Hey, it's them. The people who came in were Zhao Mingli and his group, and there was also Kao Qingming. As he came in, Zhao Zuli complained. A child from a big family, like Qiao Qingming, still feels superior in front of such Nouveau-riche. After all, Nouveau-riche are just rich, unlike their families, which not only have money, but also have power, which has been accumulated over many years. Don't worry, I'm here. I will definitely help you settle this matter. In Yangcheng, there is no film and television company that can be so rampant in front of me. I just give them a look and they have to send their girls over obediently. Qiao Qingming waved his hand arrogantly, and then his eyes swept over a group of beauties. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan were not here, so he didn't recognize these people at once. I knew that Master Qiao would take action, and it would definitely be easy to handle. Zhao Zuli flattered him. The people led by Zhao Zuli glared and shouted, "Hey, where's your bullshit President Su? Let him come over. Our young Master Qiao wants to see him." Young Master Qiao? All the employees of Su Weifeng looked over at this time. When they saw Qiao Qingming, they were stunned for a moment, and then they all laughed. Zhao Zuli said angrily, "Damn, young Master Qiao, look at these guys, they are so arrogant. I just said your name, and they had such an expression. They don't take you, young Master Qiao, seriously at all." Qiao Qingming was also very angry. This was simply ignoring and mocking him. Which company's employees are so bold? Wait. The expression on Qiao Qingming's face suddenly froze. He thought of a company that might have this possibility. He glanced again and saw a few familiar faces in the crowd. Oh my god, these guys seem to be the ones who filmed the video for me and Mi Xiangang that day. Qiao Qingming's face instantly turned pale. Even if he hadn't seen Su Weifeng yet, he knew where these people were from. No wonder everyone didn't take him seriously. They had seen him film that embarrassing video with their own eyes, and several people had directed him on the spot. How could they take him seriously? Qiao Qingming turned around and left at this time. He didn't want to lose face here. Zhao Zuli grabbed Qiao Qingming and said anxiously, "Young Master Qiao, what are you doing?" Qiao Qingming's face turned black, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I can't control this matter." "What?" Zhao Zuli said in surprise. "Young Master Qiao, these people are more powerful than you?" "No. Yes, I can't afford to offend you." With a cold snort, Qiao Qingming shook his arm and fled directly. Zhao Zuli was really dumbfounded at this time. What was going on? Qiao Qingming didn't even talk to the other party directly, and he didn't even say a polite word. He just ran away in such a disgrace? Haha. All the employees of Su Weifeng's company laughed at this time, and then all looked at Zhao Zuli, and others with a mocking look. "Aren't you awesome? Didn't you find awesome people? Look at the people you found. They are useless here and just ran away." Zhao Zuli's scalp tingled when he saw everyone's eyes. Why did he feel so dangerous here? Let's not interfere with each other. Goodbye. Zhao Zuli didn't even say a smooth sentence, turned around and left, and his friends hurriedly followed. Several people came in arrogantly and left in a mess. It was less than 5 minutes before and after, and the waiters were all confused. The guy just now seemed to be Qiao Qingming from Yangcheng, right? A guy at Su Weifeng's table frowned and said, "It seems to be him. I had dinner with him once, and this guy just left like that. Several people looked at Su Weifeng. Zhu Xiaoxuan chuckled and said, "Mr. Su, Xiaoxuan is very curious, what's going on?" That Zhao Zuli wanted to force my employees to go on the yacht with him, but I stopped him. Then he knew I was from Yangcheng, so he called Qiao Qingming. Su Weifeng simply told the story and mentioned the yacht. Then why did Qiao Qingming run away when he saw your employees? Zhu Xiaoxuan was most curious about this, and so were the others. Qiao Qingming had a grudge against me before, and he came to my company to make trouble. I gave him a good beating, and it was a bit embarrassing. My employees saw it, and he probably recognized that he was my employee, so he was embarrassed to stay here. Su Weifeng said it simply, but the people Zhu Xiaoxuan brought were horrified at this time. Even if their family's power was greater than that of the Qiao family in the small town, they couldn't just scare Qiao Qingming away. This Su Weifeng was simply more powerful than them. No wonder Zhu Xiaoxuan treated him like this. However, Zhu Xiaoxuan just nodded at this time with an amused smile on his face, as if he thought this was a matter of course. Chapter 215 I accidentally saw it. After dinner, ZHU Xiaoxuan actually participated in the team building in Su Weifeng's company. Here, she did not show the pride of a lady from a big family at all. She was approachable and got along well with everyone. Even, everyone forgot that she was not a member of the company. It was low tide, and catching seafood by yourself was definitely the most exciting thing. Everyone got dirty, but it was also a great harvest. ZHU Xiaoxuan walked with Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan. When Lin Zhuangxuan was happily chasing a few small crabs, ZHU Xiaoxuan smiled and said, "Mr. Su, my grandfather has always wanted to see you, but he was afraid that it would be too abrupt, so he wanted me to confirm it with Mr. Su first. Really, it's not necessary, it's just a small matter." Su Weifeng shook his head. ZHU Xiaoxuan said, "Mr. Su, are you afraid of disturbing your peaceful life? Why do you ask?" Su Weifeng turned his head and looked at ZHU Xiaoxuan. ZHU Xiaoxuan blinked mischievously and said, "I'm very curious about Mr. Su, so I carefully analyzed Mr. Su's information. Mr. Su's information is too simple, which makes me feel that you must have a lot of things that cannot be written in the information. People who can conceal their own information are definitely a very special group of people. Now Mr. Su is living an ordinary life, so naturally he doesn't like to be disturbed. You are such a smart woman." Su Weifeng smiled faintly. "Mr. Su, aren't you angry that I checked you like this?" ZHU Xiaoxuan narrowed her eyes and stared at Su Weifeng. "What's there to be angry about? The information is there, and it's not difficult for you to check. As for what you think, that's your business. I still know what's good for me. This is just my analysis, and I also understand that, even if I continue to investigate, I don't have the ability to find out anything else. I won't do anything that's annoying, and I want to make friends with Mr. Su, so I shouldn't do anything that makes you hate me." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "I have something else I want to ask you." ZHU Xiaoxuan curved his eyes and said, "Mr. Su begs me, then no matter how difficult it is, I will do it." Su Weifeng couldn't help but praise ZHU Xiaoxuan for speaking so appropriately, and every word made people feel comfortable listening to it. He said, "My employees are all girls, and they still yearn for this kind of rich man's yacht. I don't want them to lose themselves because of these things, so I'll let them go and see it. Some things, after seeing them, they won't yearn for them so much. It's just a small matter, then let's go out to sea to play tomorrow." ZHU Xiaoxuan was even a little disappointed. This thing was too small, so she couldn't let Su Weifeng remember her feelings. "That's settled." Su Weifeng nodded and didn't say anything to thank him. The seafood meal in the evening was not as rich as a lunch meal. After all, the seafood for lunch was caught by professional fishermen. They caught some small things, but it was better to catch them with their own hands, so it tasted even better. There was wine for dinner. Su Weifeng reminded everyone not to drink too much, but many people still drank a lot. Fortunately, they didn't go out at night. Then everyone held a bonfire party. The atmosphere was also quite good. After all, everyone's talents were there, and it attracted many tourists to come and see. It wasn't until late at night that everyone went back to rest. As soon as Lin Zhuangxuan entered the house, he wiped the sweat from his head and said, "I'm sweating all over. I have to take a shower quickly." Then he went into the bathroom without waiting for Su Weifeng to react. Su Weifeng didn't come back to his senses at the time. When he realized it, he had already seen Lin Zhuangxuan taking a shower inside. Yes, he saw it. Lin Zhuangxuan didn't adjust the water temperature too high, so there was no water vapor. Therefore, through the glass, Su Weifeng could see Lin Zhuangxuan clearly. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes suddenly met his. She was stunned for a few seconds, then she let out a low cry and turned around quickly. Su Weifeng turned around as well and was caught red-handed. "Su Weifeng, you bastard, you peeked at me." Lin Zhuangxuan yelled angrily in the bathroom. Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "I really forgot that I could see you. I'm sorry." "Huh? Do you think I believe you? You obviously did it on purpose. When I saw you, your eyes were wide open." Okay, it's my fault." Su Weifeng simply admitted it. Anyway, he really saw it. so no matter how he defended himself, it would only be a quibble. Ah, you are so confident. Just wait for me. Su Weifeng didn't dare to look back or defend himself at this time. He felt so guilty. After waiting for a long time, the sound of water stopped, and Lin Zhuangxuan shouted from inside, "Hey, you big pervert, the things in the bathroom are not dry yet. Take down your clothes for me. I forgot to take them just now." Su Weifeng agreed and quickly went to his bag to find Lin Zhuangxuan's clothes. He often saw this kind of things in his room recently, but this was definitely the first time he really got his hands on them. With his back to the bathroom, Su Weifeng retreated step by step. When he reached the door, he just reached in and said, "Here." Lin Zhuangxuan snatched it and said, "Go away quickly, don't come in." Su Weifeng originally retreated immediately, but when Lin Zhuangxuan said this, why did he have an urge to rush in? Well, it was just an impulse. Su Weifeng stood at the door of the bathroom. Here, at least he couldn't see anything, so as not to make another mistake. After waiting for a while, Lin Zhuangxuan came out, wearing a bathrobe, and kicked Su Weifeng directly, saying fiercely, "What do you say about this?" Su Weifeng laughed dryly and said, "Whatever you say, I will do it. I will never say no." Lin Zhuangxuan glared and said, "Humph, are you trying to pass the blame to me? I didn't. I admit my mistakes. The fault is all mine, so I accept your punishment." "Humph, you bastard, you have my sister, but you still peek at me. Tell me, can you be worthy of my sister?" This. Su Weifeng grinned, thinking that there was really nothing to be sorry about, but he could only say, "I'm sorry. Look at your attitude, it's not sincere at all. Do you like my sister or not?" Lin Zhuangxuan's face suddenly showed a puzzled expression. "Oh, I'm just flustered, because I made a mistake." Su Weifeng quickly found an excuse. At least for the time being, this matter could not be exposed. Chapter 216 You are dreaming. HMPH, I think you are a big pervert. Go take a shower. Lin Zhuangxuan kicked Su Weifeng again, rolled his eyes, and then walked past Su Weifeng. "How about you come back?" Su Weifeng said this sentence for some reason. Lin Zhuangxuan paused, turned his head suddenly, his face flushed, and gritted his teeth and said, "Who wants to see you?" Su Weifeng coughed dryly and said hurriedly, "It was a slip of the tongue, a slip of the tongue." He fled and went directly into the bathroom. After taking a shower nervously, Su Weifeng put on his clothes, and saw Lin Zhuangxuan lying with her back to him through the glass. He still felt guilty. After hesitating for a while, Su Weifeng returned to the bed and turned off all the lights. When he lay down, "What are you going to do?" Lin Zhuangxuan asked in horror. Lin Zhuangxuan's reaction was too big, which scared Su Weifeng and said, "Sleep. Sleep. You want to sleep with me?" Lin Zhuangxuan's voice was a little trembling. "Yeah." Su Weifeng hadn't reacted yet. You can't do anything wrong. I'm sorry to my sister." I definitely won't agree." Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment, then his face turned black, and he said, "That's not what I meant. I don't want to sleep with you. I just want to sleep." "You still want to sleep?" Su Weifeng was amused by Lin Zhuangxuan, and said, "PFFT, don't we usually sleep in the same bed? It's not like we're going to do anything." "Ah." Lin Zhuangxuan let out a low cry, and suddenly stretched out her hand, pinching Su Weifeng's arm with two fingertips, and said viciously, "You bastard, you scared me to death." "Khan, I didn't say anything, you're just thinking too much. It's all because you peeked at me that made me feel that you had bad intentions towards me. It's all your fault." "Yes, it's all my fault, my aunt. If you pinch me again, I'll pinch my flesh off. Humph, I'll strangle you to death." Lin Zhuangxuan said fiercely again, and then let go. The two of them fell silent for a moment. After an unknown amount of time, Lin Zhuangxuan suddenly whispered, "Who has a better figure, me or my sister?" "Ah." Su Weifeng was stunned. What kind of question was that? "Huh, I'm asking you a question." Lin Zhuangxuan turned around and kicked Su Weifeng. "Well, you two are the same, right? Although our faces are basically the same, there are still some differences in our figures, right?" "How can I tell?" Su Weifeng had never seen Qiao Yushan before, so he muttered to himself. However, the two of them were swaying in front of him in pajamas, so there was naturally some comparison. he said. It seems to be similar. Yours should be healthier and stronger than your sister's. Ha, you are a really careful guy. Su Weifeng was speechless for a moment and said after a while, don't set a trap for others like this, okay? Humph, hooligan. Lin Zhuangxuan spat at Su Weifeng again and said, go to sleep and don't think about it. Yeah. Su Weifeng agreed, but he felt a little helpless in his heart. He had already stopped thinking about it. What you said, can I stop thinking about it? But the whole night was peaceful. In the morning, Lin Zhuangxuan was still curled up in Su Weifeng's arms like a kitten. When he woke up, he still had to stay in bed for a while before getting up. As for what happened last night, Lin Zhuangxuan seemed to have completely forgotten it. This also made Su Weifeng feel relieved. After breakfast, Su Weifeng gathered everyone together and said, let's change our schedule today. Everyone was a little stunned, and Su Weifeng smiled and said, now everyone go and take all your things. There was no arrangement to go to the sea this morning, but Su Weifeng said this as if he wanted to leave early, but he had a lot of fun yesterday, and there was no regret to leave now. Everyone picked up their luggage and followed Su Weifeng to the dock. Looking at the huge yacht parked on the dock, the girl's eyes were wide open. It was far away yesterday, and it just felt big. Now looking at it up close, they found that this yacht was really huge, with 3 floors on the deck. How many people can it accommodate? It would be great if we could go up and play. Not to mention going up and playing, just going up and taking a look would be enough. Come on, let's just take a look here. President Su has already said that these are private yachts. How can we have the chance to go up and play? At this time, Xiao Zuli and his group just happened to come over, but Qiao Qingming ran away after being embarrassed yesterday. He didn't want to face Su Weifeng or even anyone in Su Weifeng's company. This was too embarrassing. Hearing the girls' envious voices, Xiao Zuli immediately became arrogant again, snorted, and said, I originally wanted to take you to play on the yacht, but now you guys don't know what's good for you. Now you want to come up and play. I won't take you with me. A bunch of ungrateful guys. Humph, now you know you regret it. That's right, you really think you are so great, you can't even afford a yacht, and you still pretend to be with our brotherly. Several people muttered, and proudly boarded their yacht. Standing on their yacht, they looked down at Su Weifeng, and others with a proud and arrogant look. Xiao Zuli shouted directly to Su Weifeng, that kid, aren't you awesome? If you have the ability, you can also get a yacht, to play on the sea. Just pretending to be with our brotherly, let's see how you can pretend. At this time, Su Weifeng's employees all looked very ugly, and they all looked at Xiao Zuli and others with angry eyes, but they were on the yacht, and they could only stand on the dock. Even if they were arguing with them, they seemed to lack confidence. Su Weifeng glanced at them, then turned around and said loudly, everyone, please be quiet. Our general manager Lin has something to say. Everyone fell silent at once. Lin Zhuangxuan glanced at everyone, then smiled slightly and said, seeing that everyone is so eager for the yacht, it just so happens that the owner of this yacht is a friend of our general manager Su, so today I invite everyone to play on the yacht together. Puff. Xiao Zuli burst out laughing and said loudly, you are bragging, I don't want you to play on my yacht. Lin Zhuangxuan glanced at him disdainfully and said, we are too lazy to go on your small yacht. Xiao Zuli also said with disdain, then are you going to go on this big one? If you can go on this one, then I will write my name Xiao backwards. The big yacht next to it is worth at least tens of millions. Those who can own such a yacht must be much stronger than him. Even the Qiao family of Qiao Qingming's family can never compare. He didn't believe that Su Weifeng actually had the capital to get together with such a powerful person. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Boyfriend's Patent. Mr. Su, Zhuangxuan, you guys are coming. ZHU Zhuangxuan waved at Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan on the big yacht. Lin Zhuangxuan said with a smile, Zhuangxuan, sorry to bother you. The two of them played together for a long time yesterday, and their relationship became much closer, and their names became more intimate. ZHU Xiaoxuan's smile became even brighter, and he said, "You are still so polite to me. Hurry up and bring everyone up to play." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "Okay, everyone get on the yacht." Wow. Everyone shouted in surprise, and they didn't expect this to be true. They all got on the yacht happily. However, after everyone got on, they all stood on the deck very restrainedly, just looking around, not daring to move. ZHU Xiaoxuan said with a smile, "Everyone, please don't be polite when you come here. Just have fun. I will have someone take you to get familiar with this place. All the food and supplies here are optional. Just tell the service staff what you want to eat and use." Su Weifeng said with a smile, "Since you are here, you should have fun. Otherwise, it will be a waste of Miss ZHU's kindness." Oh yeah. After Su Weifeng's approval, everyone cheered. ZHU Xiaoxuan's yacht was much larger than Xiao Zuli's. At this time, everyone on the deck looked down on Xiao Zuli and his friends. The sense of pride also arose spontaneously. Xiao Zuli and his friends just mocked them. Now many people looked down on Xiao Zuli and his friends. Xiao Zuli and his friends were stunned. "Brotherly, who is that woman?" a guy next to him asked after a long while. Xiao Zuli's mouth twitched, and he said, "I don't know him either, but he's obviously awesome. No matter how frivolous he is, no matter how good he is at pretending to be." Xiao Zuli also notes that the owner of the big yacht is definitely not someone he can afford to offend. This time, he failed to pretend to be awesome and was slapped in the face by someone else, and his face was swollen. He drove away in shame on the yacht. If he really offended the big shot on the yacht, it would be troublesome. ZHU Xiaoxuan's yacht also went out to sea, and everyone went to play separately. Su Weifeng was not interested in the enjoyment inside the yacht, so he went straight to the top floor. There was a swimming pool here, and lying here to bask in the sun was a very enjoyable thing. Lin Xuanxuan and ZHU Xiaoxuan also followed. They had already changed into swimsuits. ZHU Xiaoxuan was shocked when she saw Su Weifeng's naked upper body. "Mr. Su, what's on you?" At this point, ZHU Xiaoxuan couldn't say anything more. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "I was injured a little." The corners of ZHU Xiaoxuan's mouth twitched violently. Then he showed an extremely gentle look and said, "How serious are your injuries? You should have crawled out of the gates of hell, right?" Su Weifeng took the drink next to him and took a sip, saying, "It's inevitable to be injured when serving in the army." Lin Xuanxuan chuckled and threw a towel to Su Weifeng directly, saying, "It's just too ugly. Your body looks like earthworms. I'm giving you a towel. Don't take it out to scare people." ZHU Xiaoxuan hurriedly said, "I was just a little surprised when I saw it, but I can't say I was scared. Moreover, I feel that as a soldier, every scar is a medal of honor, which is the pride of man." Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "Look, Xiaoxuan is so good at talking, and you always dislike her all day long." Lin Xuanxuan glared and said, "Are you starting to dislike me?" Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "No, come here, I'll spray sunscreen on you." "Oh, I've applied it all over here." ZHU Xiaoxuan handed over a box of sunscreen. Lin Xuanxuan blushed and said angrily, "Then Xiaoxuan, help me apply it." ZHU Xiaoxuan chuckled and said, "This is a boyfriend's right, how can I deprive him of it?" Lin Xuanxuan hurriedly said, "He's a grown man with rough hands and feet, so he can't apply it properly. I think men will be lazy in other things, but they will definitely be very attentive in this matter. I won't ruin your chance to improve your relationship." Lin Xuanxuan's face turned even redder, and she glared at Su Weifeng, then lay down on a recliner next to her and said, "Then you come." Su Weifeng coughed lightly, and at this time he could only get up and come to Lin Xuanxuan's side. ZHU Xiaoxuan looked at Su Weifeng's actions, but there was a kind of surprise in her eyes. If they were normal boyfriends and girlfriends, such actions should be very skilled, or should be very natural. But Su Weifeng's movements were obviously a little stiff, and Lin Xuanxuan's skin was also tightly stretched. This reaction was enough to prove that their relationship was not that close. Could it be that the two of them have just started dating and haven't had any real intimate relationship yet? But judging from their usual behavior, they seem like a couple who have been together for a long time. This is really strange. ZHU Xiaoxuan was very curious about what happened to Su Weifeng, but considering that this was a matter of love, if he paid too much attention to it, it would definitely make people disgusted, so he just thought about it in his mind, and then picked up another box of sunscreen, and applied it on his body. Su Weifeng was indeed a little nervous at first, but after a while, he relaxed. After all, he had massaged Lin Zhuangxuan several times recently. But when Lin Zhuangxuan turned over, Su Weifeng was still a little embarrassed. Lin Zhuangxuan glared at Su Weifeng and said nothing. Su Weifeng didn't know what this look meant, but seeing that Lin Zhuangxuan was lying there without moving, he could only continue to apply sunscreen. When he applied the oil all over, Su Weifeng's head was sweating. This was really a test. This matter is definitely too tempting for men. If it is not a normal boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, then he will never do this again. After applying the sunscreen, Lin Zhuangxuan sat up directly, her face flushed, and said, "Come, I'll apply it on you too, otherwise Xiaoxuan will think I'm always bullying you." Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "I have thick skin, so I don't need it." Lin Zhuangxuan glared and said, "Come on, the sun is so strong on the sea, if you don't apply sunscreen, you will get sunburned." Lin Zhuangxuan didn't say anything, and directly pressed Su Weifeng to the chair, applied sunscreen on her hands, and began to apply it on Su Weifeng's body. Su Weifeng simply gave up struggling, and immediately felt that this was definitely a kind of enjoyment. It was a great feeling to be served by a woman. No wonder Zhao Zuli and his gang always look for girls when they go out to play. Chapter 218 The Life of the Rich. I despise you, look at how you enjoy it. After applying sunscreen to Su Weifeng, Lin Zhuangxuan lowered her head and whispered in his ear. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, "You really enjoy it." Humph. Lin Zhuangxuan twisted him, then smiled and said to ZHU Xiaoxuan, "Xiaoxuan, I'll wipe your back, but you don't have a boyfriend to help you." ZHU Xiaoxuan said with a look of resentment, "It hurts my heart that you laugh at me, a single dog, like this. If you want to find a boyfriend, you have to line up here from the dock." ZHU Xiaoxuan shook his head and said, "No way, I really don't have any men chasing me. How is that possible?" Lin Zhuangxuan looked at ZHU Xiaoxuan's seriousness and couldn't help but look surprised. "That's true. In my situation, ordinary people don't have the chance to pursue me. People with similar family backgrounds as mine have their fates arranged by their families, so how can they have a normal relationship? Oh my god, is this also arranged by your family?" ZHU Xiaoxuan shrugged helplessly and said, "Not yet, but I know very well that I can't escape. It's just that there is no suitable person who can let my family marry me off." Lin Zhuangxuan stuck out her tongue and said, "This is the sadness of you rich people. I can't stand the thought of not being able to choose the person you like. Yes, so I envy you for being able to have a relationship with Weifeng like this. If I have nothing to do in the future, I will go to play with you. You can't refuse." Lin Zhuangxuan said generously, "Why are you being polite to us? Although we don't have any yachts or anything like that, we can take you to enjoy the life of ordinary people." Haha, that's good too. ZHU Xiaoxuan glanced at Su Weifeng. This guy should also be pursuing such a life. They played until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone ate on the yacht, played various entertainment facilities on the yacht, and then ran up to the yacht to sunbathe and swim. It was really an indescribable enjoyment. No one went back to the island. ZHU Xiaoxuan directly asked the yacht to send Su Weifeng and others to the harbor. After bidding farewell, everyone boarded the return bus. Generally, on the way back from a trip, everyone would sleep tiredly. But this time, everyone was indescribably excited and talked about what they saw on the yacht. Because they played separately, not everyone had played the projects on the yacht. When they heard that others had played, but they had not tried it, they would occasionally cry out in regret. In the past, everyone knew that Su Weifeng, the vice president of the company, was quite powerful, but they did not have an intuitive feeling. But this time, they really saw Su Weifeng's strength. Being able to become friends with someone like ZHU Xiaoxuan who owns a luxurious private yacht, and still being so face-saving, is enough to show how good the development prospects of this company are. A company has strength and prospects, and everyone will have confidence in doing anything. In addition, the boss is not very strict. This is definitely the company that everyone dreams of. The company's team building this time was an indescribable success. Everyone once again deepened their centripetal force for the company, and the company's cohesion is also super strong. After returning to Yangcheng, Lin Zhuangxuan followed Su Weifeng directly back to Yangcheng's home and brought some fresh seafood specialties to Shenji, which had to be delivered immediately. Shenji smiled and said, "Yushan, you are so troublesome, and you ran so far to bring me things." Lin Zhuangxuan hugged Shenji's arm and said with a smile, "What's the big deal? We are having fun eating, drinking and having fun outside, so we can't let our parents at home suffer, otherwise it would be unfilial." Shenji smiled even more brightly and said, "I'm not old, you don't have to worry about me all the time, just be happy." Although he said so, his smile had already betrayed how happy Shenji was. Lin Zhuangxuan helped Shenji organize the things he brought back, and then said to Su Weifeng, "Weifeng, the clothes you brought back are not very dry, go and hang them out." Su Weifeng agreed, opened their bags, and took out the wet clothes in plastic bags. Then he took them directly to the balcony to hang them out. Looking at the clothes of Lin Zhuangxuan hanging up, Su Weifeng couldn't help shaking his head. How come his relationship with Lin Zhuangxuan is becoming more and more like a real couple? Even such female private items, Lin Zhuangxuan lets him touch casually, and he seems to be very accustomed to it. After dinner, Lin Zhuangxuan went to the bathroom, and then didn't come out for a long time. She even called out from inside, "Auntie, can you come in? What's wrong?" Shenji came over and asked at the door, Is there no sanitary napkin at home?" "There is none in the cabinet, so there should be none. I forgot to buy them these 2 days. I'm having my period now." Shenji immediately said, "I'll let Weifeng buy them. Weifeng, go buy some sanitary napkins for Yushan." Su Weifeng's face suddenly turned black. When he didn't have a girlfriend, his mother would not let him buy such things, but at this time he could only quickly agree and trot downstairs to buy them. Although it was a bit embarrassing, he was not a little boy, so Su Weifeng was still very relaxed when buying such things. But after entering the house, Shenji said directly, "Hurry up and send it to Yushan." Su Weifeng was a little confused. What was going on? How could it be okay for a grown man like him to send this thing in? Shenji didn't think about anything else. He glared and said, "What's the big deal about sending this to your girlfriend? Don't be so chauvinistic. Go quickly." Su Weifeng had no choice but to go over and knock on the door. "Please send it in. I can't get up." Lin Zhuangxuan shouted inside. The rest of Su Weifeng's house is not very big, but the bathroom is really not small, and the toilet is in a corner. It's really hard to send it to the door. Su Weifeng could only open the door and walk in with his face sideways. Lin Zhuangxuan took the thing and said, "Hurry up and get out." Su Weifeng quickly slipped out. Even if they were a boyfriend and girlfriend, the woman would not want the man to see her changing this thing, not to mention that they were not. You blush after doing such a small thing." Shenji saw Su Weifeng coming out and glared at her again, saying, "Women are usually in a bad mood at this time. You have to coax her well and serve her well these few days. Do you hear me? Did you hear me?" Lin Zhuangxuan also came out at this time, raising her chin proudly. Su Weifeng's face darkened, and he said, I know. Alas, my life is so difficult without my mother's support." Chapter 219 What should I do? When Lin Zhuangxuan fell on the bed, before going to sleep, she huddled up. Su Weifeng asked with concern, "Do you have a stomachache?" "Yeah, it hurts." Su Weifeng said again, "Do you want me to massage you? It should be able to relieve it. You should have told me earlier. I've been in pain for a while." Lin Zhuangxuan turned around and huddled in Su Weifeng's arms. Su Weifeng hugged Lin Zhuangxuan and said, "It should be better if your hands touch the skin. Why are you so hesitant? It's not like you haven't touched it before. You touched it all over on the yacht today." Lin Zhuangxuan rolled his eyes at Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng thought so too, so he massaged Lin Zhuangxuan's stomach directly. His massage skills were naturally excellent, and with the addition of some true energy, Lin Zhuangxuan's pain stopped quickly. "How is it? The effect is good, right?" Su Weifeng asked with a smile. "Yes, it's really comfortable. Keep your hand here tonight, and don't take it away. I'm afraid it will hurt if you take it away." Su Weifeng agreed and said, just sleep well. Lin Zhuangxuan adjusted to a more comfortable position and closed her eyes. Su Weifeng also closed his eyes. His mind was in a mess for a while, and he also fell asleep. When he woke up the next morning, Su Weifeng found that something bad had happened. He and Lin Zhuangxuan had been in this position before, but his hands were always very well behaved. But last night, he was rubbing Lin Zhuangxuan's belly, so his hand was always on her body. Then when he woke up, his hand had changed its position and pressed on the place that should not be touched. Seeing that Lin Zhuangxuan seemed to be still asleep, Su Weifeng hurriedly and secretly pulled his hand out. If Lin Zhuangxuan found out, he would be dead. But what he didn't notice was that Lin Zhuangxuan's eyelashes trembled slightly a few times. Finally, he pulled his hand out, and Su Weifeng breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he was not discovered. Yeah, it hurts. Lin Zhuangxuan murmured. Su Weifeng quickly rubbed Lin Zhuangxuan's belly again and said with a guilty conscience, I'll rub it for you. I'll rub it for you. You can sleep a little longer. Yeah. Lin Zhuangxuan made a sound from her nose and turned her back to Su Weifeng and twisted her waist again. After getting up, Su Weifeng was still secretly glancing at Lin Zhuangxuan's reaction. Why do you have such an expression? Did you do something bad? Lin Zhuangxuan asked with a frown. No, I've been under your nose all day. What bad could I do? Su Weifeng immediately denied it. No, your expression today is wrong. You must have done something bad. Ahem, you're too sensitive. Even if I want to do something bad, what can you do at this time? Disgusting. Lin Zhuangxuan glared at Su Weifeng, got up and went to the bathroom. Hiding in the bathroom, Lin Zhuangxuan touched her slightly hot face, then bit her lip and spat, muttering in her heart, you bastard, you touched me secretly, and you thought I didn't know. If I wasn't afraid of embarrassment, I would have exposed you. Puchy. Just think about that guy's guilty expression. It's so interesting. Lin Zhuangxuan thought about it and couldn't help laughing again. I'm really getting more and more depraved now. This guy has done such a thing, and I'm not angry. I can't do this. How can I face my sister? It seems that I should try to pretend to be my sister less in the future, so that at least I don't have to live with him. Otherwise I don't know when I will fall. But, here, I can order the meals cooked by my aunt and chat with her. If she doesn't come all the time, I will miss her too. Lin Zhuangxuan thought about all kinds of things in her heart, as if she had made a decision, but she didn't actually think of a decision she really wanted to make. Hey, why don't you come out? What's wrong? Su Weifeng's voice rang outside the door. Oh, okay. Why are you in such a hurry? Lin Zhuangxuan responded, quickly packed up, got up and walked out. When the two passed each other, Lin Zhuangxuan actually slipped past like a thief. Su Weifeng couldn't help but wonder, this Lin Zhuangxuan is really different from usual. Is this a special performance of a woman's period? After a busy day in the company, Lin Zhuangxuan came back with Su Weifeng directly. She had a stomach ache, so she had to let Su Weifeng massage. This reason was extremely sufficient. When they got home, Shenji had already prepared dinner. Today I went to the new house to see the decoration and met my neighbor. Su Weifeng didn't care, but Lin Zhuangxuan asked curiously, what kind of person is the neighbor? Is she easy to get along with? She is a very beautiful girl, looks like a painting, has a very good temper, and is very polite to me. Mom directly said a lot of compliments. Lin Zhuangxuan pouted and said, Auntie, I will be jealous if you praise others like this. Shenji laughed and said, no matter how beautiful she is not as beautiful as you, Yushan. Besides, no matter how beautiful others are, they are still fizz. Yushan is our own wife. I will definitely recognize you in this life. No matter how good others are, I will not recognize them. Lin Zhuangxuan immediately smiled happily and said, I know that auntie treats me the best. Su Weifeng knew his mother very well. What his mother said meant that the neighbor he met today must be more beautiful than Lin Zhuangxuan. Zhuangxuan, auntie is not just looking at people for their goodness. I thought, since she is a neighbor, you should chat with her for a few more sentences to test the waters first. Then you will have some understanding of her, which will make it easier for you to get along with each other in the future. After all, neighbors meet each other every day, and distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors. It is much more convenient to get along well with each other and take care of each other. Lin Zhuangxuan nodded repeatedly and said, I understand. So what kind of person is she? She told me that she is a businesswoman and is going to Yangcheng to develop her career recently, so she bought a house here to live in. She is still single and she lives in the house by herself. She is similar to you, Yushan, and you will definitely have a lot in common in the future. Lin Zhuangxuan said, oh, that's right. After we move in, we can get in touch with each other. But he was secretly complaining in his heart. It is better not to get in touch with such a beautiful woman. It would be best if he never sees her, at least not to let Su Weifeng see her. At this time, Su Weifeng felt that something was wrong. The neighbor who suddenly appeared was such a beautiful woman and was communicating with his mother Shenji. Was she someone targeting him? Chapter 220 New neighbor. Did she tell me where she's from? Su Weifeng interrupted. Shenji casually said, I haven't asked yet. Is she from the south or the north? Su Weifeng asked again. Shenji thought for a moment and said, she doesn't look like a southerner. She speaks standard Mandarin. Su Weifeng wanted to ask more, but Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at him and said, why are you asking so much? Do you still have feelings for her? In front of Shenji, the more Lin Zhuangxuan showed her jealousy, the happier Shenji was. This showed that the daughter-in-law in his mind cared about his son very much. So Lin Zhuangxuan no longer showed her coldness or gentleness and questioned Su Weifeng openly. Su Weifeng said, I'm just asking casually. After all, we'll be neighbors in the future. Lin Zhuangxuan curled her lips and said, why do I feel like you have bad intentions? Su Weifeng laughed and said, how can I have bad intentions towards other women in front of you? I'm just a little curious. Shenji watched the two people bickering, but he was not in a hurry. After the two of them had almost finished talking, he smiled and said, why don't you take some time to come and have a look tomorrow? Okay, we'll go over at noon. This time Su Weifeng agreed very happily. Lin Zhuangxuan glanced at Su Weifeng, but didn't say anything this time. But after the two returned to the room, Lin Zhuangxuan sat cross-legged on the bed, squinted at Su Weifeng, and said, tell me, why are you so interested in that neighbor? Su Weifeng sat down on the edge of the bed and said, I suspect some people have ulterior motives. Ah. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes widened suddenly, and he knelt up, grabbed Su Weifeng's arm, and said, ulterior motives, are they from the Qiao family or the Mi family? Su Weifeng shook his head and said, definitely not. Everyone is in Yangcheng. If they have any ideas about us, there is no need to take such an approach. I suspect this person may be from other places. Are you overthinking it? Just a neighbor. Lin Zhuangxuan's mouth twitched. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, it would be best if I think too much, but it would be best to see it. Lin Zhuangxuan looked Su Weifeng up and down again, and after a while, he said, did you have a lot of enemies in the past? Su Weifeng sat down, patted Lin Zhuangxuan on the shoulder, and said, don't worry, all the missions I carried out before were changing identities, so the enemies don't know my real identity now. Oh my god. 007. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes were full of excitement, and he obviously didn't worry too much. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, that's a movie. Real things are sometimes simpler and sometimes more complicated. Lin Zhuangxuan curled his lips and said, then are you telling me again that these things can't be told? Su Weifeng nodded. Lin Zhuangxuan angrily hit Su Weifeng on the shoulder and said, it's really boring. Humph, I'll go and see who that woman is tomorrow. Su Weifeng told Lin Zhuangxuan about some possible dangers, not to shirk Lin Zhuangxuan's doubts about him, but really wanted to tell Lin Zhuangxuan that when he leaves here in the future, it seems that he will not be so abrupt. Before noon the next day, Lin Zhuangxuan came over and pulled Su Weifeng out of the company, and soon they arrived at the newly bought house. The two stood at the door of the villa and looked at the other side. The door of the villa over there was also open, and there were voices coming from inside, more than one, both men and women. Lin Zhuangxuan poked Su Weifeng and said, let's go over and take a look. Su Weifeng shook his head gently and said, wait a minute, let's go find my mother first. Su Weifeng's villa has already started to be renovated. At this time, there are 5 or 6 workers who are doing some basic work, such as wiring by electricians, waterproofing by plumbers, laying of water pipes, etc. Shenji was a little hesitant, so he immediately took Lin Zhuangxuan to study how to decorate a certain place. Su Weifeng came to the terrace on the top floor. This terrace was connected to the house next to it. It had not been decorated yet, and there was no isolation in the middle. After a while, several people from the house next to it came to the terrace. There were 3 men and 1 woman. The men were all wearing uniforms, and they should be from a decoration company. The other woman was wearing ordinary casual clothes, about 27 or 28 years old. Her appearance was not as beautiful as her mother said, she was just very ordinary, but this woman had a special demeanor in her every move, which was a kind of spirit after many actual combats, and a calm atmosphere. Master. Su Weifeng narrowed his eyes. This woman was definitely a master, and not an ordinary master, but a rare master. When Su Weifeng looked at her, the woman also looked at Su Weifeng, and then nodded to Su Weifeng, with a kind look in her eyes. Su Weifeng went over and said, "Hello, I'm glad to see our neighbor. My name is Su Weifeng." The woman smiled and said, "Hello, my name is Liu Yan. Please take care of me if I disturb you in the future." Su Weifeng had another judgment about this woman named Liu Yan. This woman should not be from the army, because when she spoke, she seemed very decent and well educated. In the army, female masters who can reach this level basically lack this kind of cultivation, because they don't need this kind of cultivation. They are already a weapon. As long as the weapon is powerful enough, everything else is secondary. That's too polite. We are neighbors, so we should take care of each other. By the way, how many people will live here in the future? Liu Yan smiled again. She was not the least bit helpless about Su Weifeng's obvious test. She said, "There won't be many people living here. Sometimes there will be 1 or 2, and there may be no one living here for a long time. So please help take care of us in the future, Mr. Su." Su Weifeng pretended to be surprised and said, "You are too extravagant. You bought such a big villa, but you don't plan to live here? Haha, I don't understand this either, because I'm just helping with the work. Wait until you meet the real owner, then you can ask her." "Oh. Then who is the real owner of this house?" Liu Yan said with a smile. "Anyway, I'm not the one." Chapter 221, Besieged on all sides. Su Weifeng did not find any hostility from the other party, and even felt a kind of kindness from Liu Yan. The most important thing is that there is a sense of induction between strong people. He can sense Liu Yan's strength, so Liu Yan must know that he is not an ordinary person, but Liu Yan is not surprised at all. It is clear that she has long known that Su Weifeng is a strong man, and even knows what Su Weifeng's identity is. What she said was also teasing, like an elder making fun of the younger. Su Weifeng smiled slightly and said, "It seems that this neighbor should also be someone I know. Then I don't know, I'm just working." Liu Yan still had that smiling expression. Okay, then I won't ask any more questions." "Yeah, but you can ask again." "Oh." Su Weifeng raised his eyebrows. "But, even if you ask, I won't tell you." Liu Yan chuckled, waved her hand, and walked towards the 3 workers. Su Weifeng's face was dark. This was definitely a joke on him. Liu Yan and the people from the decoration company made a lot of requests for this terrace. Su Weifeng listened nearby, and could roughly imagine what this terrace would look like if it was tidied up. It should be an aerial garden with a small table and 2 bamboo chairs. With the fragrance of flowers, people would drink tea and read books. This person must be a very elegant person. In this case, the scope of people Su Weifeng knew was suddenly much smaller. Those guys who shouted and killed all day were directly excluded. Those workaholics and Frankensteins were also directly denied. After screening, there were a few targets, but Su Weifeng felt that they were not very likely. They would not run to his house to be neighbors for no reason, right? After thinking about it, Su Weifeng really didn't find a person who could do this. Forget it. Anyway, he would meet him sooner or later. Knowing that this neighbor was not hostile was enough. Liu Yan waved to Su Weifeng at this time, and then took the workers away from the terrace. Su Weifeng also came downstairs and found Lin Zhuangxuan. "Have you seen the neighbor?" Lin Zhuangxuan asked in a low voice. Su Weifeng said, I didn't see the woman my mother mentioned. There is only one woman in charge of the renovation here. There should be no problem. She is just a normal neighbor. I thought too much. Are you sure? Lin Zhuangxuan asked in disbelief. Su Weifeng smiled and said, of course I'm sure, so you don't have to pay special attention to her in the future. Just say hello when you see her. But I feel that this matter is not that simple. Lin Zhuangxuan frowned. Su Weifeng chuckled and said, you feel the same way. Why don't you go and see and get to know her? Lin Zhuangxuan snorted and said, let's go. I'll find my aunt to go with me later. Lin Zhuangxuan really did what he said. After a while, he found Shenji to visit the neighbor's house together, and Su Weifeng did not go with them. After a long time, Shenji and Lin Zhuangxuan came back. How is it? Su Weifeng asked. Shenji said, the owner of the house didn't come yesterday. Today, the one who is in charge of the house renovation came. Lin Zhuangxuan pouted and said, that lady is so fierce. Ah. Su Weifeng and Shenji looked at Lin Zhuangxuan in confusion. Lin Zhuangxuan seemed a little aggrieved and said, when that lady looked at me, I always felt a chill on my back, which made me feel creepy. Shenji said in confusion, I don't have such a feeling. Are you overthinking it? Lin Zhuangxuan said, I don't know. Anyway, I feel like she is hostile to me, and is not friendly to me. Shenji smiled and said, maybe you are all capable people, so when you see each other, you feel like you are at loggerheads. Ordinary people like us don't have that feeling. Lin Zhuangxuan thought about it, then nodded and said, isn't it? But from her frowning brows, she was obviously not relieved. Su Weifeng and Lin Zhuangxuan had to go back to work in the company in the afternoon. After separating from Shenji, the two sat in the BMW X7 that Su Weifeng had just bought. Lin Zhuangxuan turned to look at Su Weifeng and said, I say, did you have any ex-girlfriend or something? Su Weifeng was stunned for a moment. He really didn't guess from the emotional aspect, and said, ex-girlfriend? No, I haven't had time to fall in love in these years. The only one I had feelings for was Zheng Shiqing in high school, but I rejected her last time, and we haven't been in touch for a long time. Lin Zhuangxuan narrowed his eyes and said, then it is very likely Zheng Shiqing. Look, she is also beautiful, and she is a musician. She seems to fit the personality of a neighbor. Su Weifeng shook his head and said, it can't be her. How can you be so sure? Lin Zhuangxuan asked puzzledly. Su Weifeng said, because the Liu Yan who is handling the matter now is not a simple person. With Zheng Shiqing's strength, it is impossible to invite such a person to serve her. That's not necessarily true. How much do you know about Zheng Shiqing now? How do you know if she has undergone great changes or has had major opportunities and is no longer the Zheng Shiqing you know? Su Weifeng nodded and said, now that you mention it, it is possible, but I always feel that Zheng Shiqing would not be so scheming. Lin Zhuangxuan said, that's not necessarily true. For love, a woman can be selfless and become someone she doesn't even recognize herself, just like Xu Lingling, who even followed us to open a company opposite. Don't tell me it's not for you. Huh? Could it be Xu Lingling? Su Weifeng suddenly raised this possibility. Lin Zhuangxuan glared and said, oh my god, it's not impossible. That woman is also very beautiful. She usually looks a bit non-mainstream, but in front of your mother, she must disguise herself and dress normally. Su Weifeng felt that what Lin Zhuangxuan said was quite reasonable. You bastard, why are there always women thinking about you? My sister is still stupid and doesn't take you seriously. If I don't help her keep an eye on you, you would have been swallowed by those vixens and there would be no bones left for my sister. Su Weifeng's face darkened and said, is it that serious? Of course, Zheng Shiqing and Xu Lingling are all eyeing you covetously. Even ZHU Xiaoxuan seems to be friends with me on the surface, but I can feel from her eyes that she is obviously very interested in you. Maybe she will become my sister's rival in the future. This is simply surrounded by enemies. Lin Zhuangxuan's cell phone rang. When he saw the number, Lin Zhuangxuan raised the corner of his mouth and said, just when I mentioned my sister, this call came. Chapter 222 I'm finally relieved. Zhuangxuan, I'm back. Lin Zhuangxuan immediately said excitedly, you're finally back. I've been exhausted these days. Hurry up and take your man away. What happened? Qiao Yushan asked. It seems that there are a lot of women who are thinking about your man now. They have moved to the side of your new home and become your neighbors. We don't know who they are yet. That may be overthinking. What else happened this week? We went to the beach to play for 2 days. There was nothing else. We just looked at a house at noon today. The house is being renovated. Wei Feng and I are on our way back. Lin Zhuangxuan roughly explained the matter and then complained. Okay, now I'm finally relieved. Next time, don't be away for so long. It's okay to be away for a day or two occasionally, but this time it's been a week, and I'm so worried. Thank you for your hard work. I was thinking of bringing you a gift. You can come and get it tomorrow. That's good enough. If I'm not satisfied, that won't work. Don't worry, you will definitely be satisfied. By the way, ask Wei Feng to pick me up from the company after get off work. I have a gift for my aunt. Haha, you are a good daughter-in-law. You know how to please your mother-in-law. After hanging up the phone, Lin Zhuangxuan leaned back. He looked relaxed and said, haha, I feel relieved now. Su Wei Feng chuckled. Lin Zhuangxuan glared at him and said, hey, what do you mean by laughing? Your woman is back. Why don't you look excited at all? Do I need to be excited? Su Wei Feng asked with a smile. Of course, I'm a fake after all, and I can't do anything to you. Your real girlfriend is back, so you can do whatever you want. Shouldn't you be excited? Su Wei Feng turned his head and looked at Lin Zhuangxuan, saying, I'm not the kind of boy who only thinks about that kind of thing. Lin Zhuangxuan rolled her eyes at Su Wei Feng and said, huh, don't talk so nicely. Do you dare to say you haven't thought about it? I sleep in the same bed with you almost every day. How could I not know what your reaction is? You actually know everything? Su Wei Feng was shocked. Lin Zhuangxuan's expression suddenly became awkward, and then he immediately laughed and said, nonsense. As a director, you must have a clear grasp of human nature. I also know what a man thinks more at different times. Do I need to see it? Without waiting for Su Wei Feng to speak, Lin Zhuangxuan raised his chin again and said, if I hadn't figured out your character, how could I dare to risk the world and sleep in the same bed with you? Oh, take me back to the company, and you go to pick up your girlfriend. Su Wei Feng said, didn't you say we would go after get off work? Why should I go so early? Lin Zhuangxuan said, I'm just afraid that you will be anxious, so I give you a chance. Su Wei Feng shook his head and said, I have a lot of things to do here in the afternoon. She will definitely be busy with work when she comes back. Let's talk about it after get off work. You are very ambitious. No wonder classmate Qiao Yushan likes you. Besides, I was thinking that someone has a stomachash and will definitely need my help in the afternoon. If I leave too early, I will definitely be cursed by someone, so I'd better go there later. PFFT. I won't. Lin Zhuangxuan's eyes suddenly curved up, just like Sun Yumeng's crescent. Sure enough, Lin Zhuangxuan came to Su Wei Feng to solve the problem of stomachash in the afternoon, and it was not just once. Before leaving get off work, Su Wei Feng gave Lin Zhuangxuan another massage, and then instructed, go home early today, try to rest, don't stay up late, and never drink ice water, drink hot and warm water, so that you won't hurt so much at night. Okay, I know, you are more nagging than my mother. Su Wei Feng flicked Lin Zhuangxuan's head with his other hand and said, this is for your own good, but you are the one who suffers. Okay, I know, nagging. Lin Zhuangxuan pouted at Su Wei Feng, but her eyes were still full of satisfied smiles. Su Wei Feng waited for a long time downstairs of Qiao Yushan's company, but Qiao Yushan didn't come down. He sent 2 messages but didn't reply. This made Su Wei Feng feel something was wrong. Qiao Yushan was a very principled person. If the time changed, she would definitely tell Su Wei Feng. Now she hasn't come out for so long and there is no message. It is very likely that something unexpected has happened. He went straight into the company and happened to meet Chen Lan. Chen Lan immediately said with a smile, Wei Feng, you are here to pick up President Qiao. Although Chen Lan has not been promoted in the company recently, it is obvious that she has a greater chance because she has been reused. She has participated in several important things, but she has not had any contact with Qiao Yushan. Su Wei Feng nodded and said, sister-in-law, nothing special happened here? No, what's wrong? Chenlan asked puzzledly. Oh, it's nothing. I'll go upstairs to see Yushan. Do you want to accompany you upstairs? No need, you can do your thing. Su Weifeng asked Chenlan to help wipe the elevator and came directly to the floor where Qiao Yushan's office was. As soon as he got out of the elevator, Su Weifeng felt that the atmosphere here was not right. There were several people's voices inside, and the voices were very loud. There was no one at the reception desk at the elevator entrance. He walked straight over and saw two secretaries standing at the door of Qiao Yushan's office, looking anxious. What's wrong? Su Weifeng asked from behind. Ah! Both of them exclaimed, turned around and saw Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng had only been here 2 or 3 times, but Qiao Yushan had directly mentioned Su Weifeng's identity, and the two young secretaries naturally would not forget it. Mr. Su, you are here. President Qiao and Director Li had a dispute. Director Li. Su Weifeng frowned. Yes, he was transferred from the head office a few days ago. He doesn't seem to get along with President Qiao. Su Weifeng nodded and said, what did they argue about this time? President Qiao invested in a new project half a year ago. The project has a very good prospect, but due to some reasons, it has not produced any benefits during this period. Director Li insisted that President Qiao stop the project and also held the person in charge of the project accountable. President Qiao disagreed, and then the two of them started arguing. Chapter 223 Internal Conflict. As they were talking, the door of the office was opened, and a man in his 30s and a beautiful girl in her 20s came out together. The man turned his head and said to the office angrily, Qiao Yushan, I'm not discussing this matter with you, but I'm here to inform you that, if you don't finish this project immediately, I will report it to the head office. Such a big project is not something you can do, just because you want to. Qiao Yushan said angrily in the office. So many people have invested so much effort in this project in the early stage, and so much money has been invested. You just stopped it like this. Have you considered the loss? I don't care whether there is a loss or not, but this is not in line with the requirements of the head office, so it can't be done. I will give you a week. If you don't finish this project within a week, don't blame me. After saying that, the man threw his sleeves and left. The two secretaries quickly stepped aside to make way for Director Li. After Director Li entered the security passage, the two entered Qiao Yushan's office. Qiao Yushan stood in front of the desk, holding the desk with her hands. Her face was at hen, and her body was shaking slightly with anger. Boss Qiao, are you okay? Two young secretaries stood timidly beside her. Qiao Yushan waved her hand and said, okay, you guys go back. Don't tell anyone about what happened today, so as not to affect the people involved in the project. Okay, we'll leave first. Mr. Su is here. Hey, where is Mr. Su? Another secretary suddenly found out that Su Weifeng was not here. Yes, Mr. Su was talking to us at the door just now, and then he disappeared after Director Li and the others left. Qiao Yushan's heart moved, and she said, don't worry about him, I'll just wait for him here. Although the two young secretaries had doubts in their hearts, they didn't think too much. They packed up their things and went off work. Director Li's office was on the lower floor, and it was faster to take the elevator than to go through the emergency passage, so he took the girl directly and went down the stairs. In addition to the director, there were two executives' offices downstairs, but these two executives were off work and not here at this time. After entering the office, Director Li sat on the sofa. His beautiful girl immediately sat on his lap, wrapped her arms around his neck, and said, this Qiao Yushan is a little ungrateful. She actually dared to force it on you. Director Li put his arm around the secretary's waist and said with a smile, he is the president here. He is used to having the final say. That was before the head office didn't participate in the management. Now the head office has sent you here. If she still wants to do that, then there is no way. We have to make her understand that it is you, Director Li, who have the final say here. After all, she is still an employee. How can she compete with a director like you? Director Li laughed and said, haha, don't say that. We still have to let employees like her make money for us. Even employees have to know that they are the same as her. Look at her look, as if no one in the whole company is allowed to interrupt. This is so arrogant. Director Lee, we have to put a stop to her arrogance this time. Director Lee narrowed his eyes and said, this company is a piece of fat meat now. We must take control of it as soon as possible. If we wait until other directors also reach out, it will be difficult for us to control it. Suppressing Qiao Yushan's arrogance is only the first step. The most important thing is that I have to make her stand on the same line with me and let her understand that only by following me can she stay in this position. The beautiful woman twisted her body and said dissatisfiedly, what do you mean? Haha, don't you know? If you want a woman to be obedient, the best way is to make her your bed partner. Qiao Yushan is a capable woman. It is definitely a surefire deal to conquer her. Then what should I do? You promised me that you will not abandon me. You also promised to let me control this company. Director Lee laughed proudly and said, don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you. You are so good at coaxing people, how could I not want you? No matter who I marry in the future, I will support you. As for the company, your ability is definitely worse than Qiao Yushan's. As long as you can win over Qiao Yushan, I will arrange a position for you as a vice president. At that time, there will be nothing to say between you sisters. Just control this company together and make a fortune together. The girl said coquettishly, you bad guy, you want to have both. Director Lee laughed again. You are so bad. Su Weifeng walked into Qiao Yushan's office. Did you find anything? Qiao Yushan poured Su Weifeng a glass of water and asked directly. Su Weifeng said that Director Lee wants to completely control this company. Control this company? Just him? Qiao Yushan's face suddenly darkened. Yes, he has this ambition, and from what he said, it's not just one director who has his eyes on this piece of fat meat of a company. If he doesn't fight for it, others will. Qiao Yushan clenched her fists, pounded the table angrily, and said, these people are so shameless. I was transferred to attend a meeting for a week, and as a result, Director Lee was sent in. My power was suddenly weakened a lot. I thought they were just afraid that my power would be too great and came to supervise or something, but they actually wanted to kick me out and share the dividends in the company. Su Weifeng said, this is human nature. When you make the company bigger, it is inevitable that you want to share the cake. But Director Lee has bad intentions towards you. Don't be alone with him in the future. Qiao Yushan frowned and said in disbelief, she also wants to kill me? Su Weifeng shook his head, feeling that it was shameless to say such words. Of course not. He wants you to become his woman, so that you will listen to him. This bastard. It's a beautiful thought. I will never give him such a chance. Okay, don't be angry. Do you want me to help you deal with this matter? Su Weifeng asked. This kind of internal fighting in the company seems complicated, but if Su Weifeng were to deal with it, it would be very simple. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224. The truth is revealed. No need. Qiao Yushan shook her head decisively, then sneered and said proudly, if they want to deal with me, they have to see if they have the ability to do so. Well, then just tell me when you need my help. Su Weifeng did not persuade her much. A strong woman like Qiao Yushan, when encountering difficulties, her first reaction is to face the difficulties head on. This is a brand new challenge. He can see the excitement in Qiao Yushan's eyes. Qiao Yushan picked up a bag and said, okay, let's go quickly. Auntie must be waiting anxiously. This time Qiao Yushan was sitting in Su Weifeng's car. Hey, a new car? Qiao Yushan got in the car and saw the model of the car at a glance. She was a little surprised. Yeah, I made a small fortune a few days ago, so I bought a car directly. This way it's more convenient. Your small fortune is really small. Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng and said, does auntie know about this? My mother hasn't seen the car yet. Tell her it's from your company later. I'll borrow it for fun first. Qiao Yushan thought about it and said, will that make me look unprincipled? I'd better say I bought it. That's fine. They returned home soon. Qiao Yushan had put aside the negative emotions about the company. With a smile on her face, she took Shenji's arm and said, "Auntie, there was something urgent at the company today, so I came back late. This is a gift I brought back for you from my business trip. Do you like it?" Shenji took it and said with a smile, "Why are you on a business trip again? Didn't you just come back from the beach? You were too busy all day." Qiao Yushan said hurriedly, "Going to the beach is just for fun, and this is for business, just a trip to the provincial capital, one round trip in one day." Shenji said, "That's even busier. You still want to buy me something? Don't do that in the future. Auntie knows your intentions. As long as you come here often, Auntie will be very happy. It doesn't matter whether it's a gift or not." Qiao Yushan smiled and said, "I bought it below the hotel where the event was held. If it was troublesome, I wouldn't go. It's just a matter of time. Haha, that's okay. Let's wash our hands and eat first." Qiao Yushan secretly exchanged glances with Su Weifeng. Fortunately, she reacted quickly, otherwise it would have been a bit exposed. She ignored the fact that Lin Zhuangxuan had just gone to the beach 2 days ago. After dinner, Qiao Yushan was a little thirsty, so she went to the refrigerator to get a bottle of iced mineral water. She had been in this house many times, so she was a little casual. But just as she was about to drink the water, Shenji hurriedly said, "Yushan, how can you drink ice water at this time? What's wrong? This water." Qiao Yushan was startled and held the bottle in her hand, a little at a loss. Shenji said angrily, No wonder you have a stomachache at this time. Women are menstruating, so they can't eat cold food, especially this kind of cold water, and they can't drink it." I didn't have a stomachache just now, so I forgot about it. I'll put it away immediately." Qiao Yushan hurriedly returned the cold water to the refrigerator. Shenji glared at Su Weifeng again and said, "How can you be a boyfriend? Yushan doesn't care about this kind of thing, but you have to help pay attention to it." Su Weifeng hurriedly said, "Okay, I will pay more attention." Qiao Yushan's mistake caused him to be criticized, which was really a casualty. Qiao Yushan secretly gave him an apologetic look, and Su Weifeng could only indicate that it was okay. Next, Qiao Yushan cheered up and tried to chat with Shenji in Lin Zhuangxuan's way, otherwise it would be easier for Shenji to find out the problem. Shenji really didn't see any problems. After chatting for a while, Qiao Yushan made an excuse that her stomach was uncomfortable and went back to the room first. Qiao Yushan returned to her room and started working seriously. Now she had to face not only external competition, but also internal competition, which was even more difficult to deal with. External competition might affect the company's performance, and internal competition might even kick her out of the company. When Qiao Yushan first arrived at Linfeng Company, the company had less than 20 million yuan in assets, and the company's liquidity was almost zero. The entire company was on the verge of bankruptcy. After she arrived, she first went to the head office to get some investment, and then went to the bank to get a loan, which allowed the company to operate. Then, with her series of operations, she finally turned the company from loss to profit. Then, after 2 years of hard work, the company had grown to such a scale, with assets reaching more than 300 million yuan. For Qiao Yushan, this company was like her own child. How could she bear to give up the company and let others manage it? But she also knew that in the past few years, although the head office rewarded her, and she also owned 10% of the company's shares, most of the branch's shares were still in the hands of the head office, and the head office still had absolute control. It was not a matter of not handing over power if she didn't want to. This must be supported by all the important people in the head office before she could fight against the directly Bingyang. Su Weifeng walked in and said, "Are you still thinking about the things in the company?" Qiao Yushan nodded and said, "I can't help but think about it. I have to think about how I will deal with it next. Are there any clues?" Su Weifeng lay down on the bed. Qiao Yushan smiled slightly and said, "Although it's difficult, I'm still confident that I can handle it." Su Weifeng thought for a while and said, "Lend me your mobile phone." "What for?" Qiao Yushan asked doubtfully, but still handed the phone to Su Weifeng. Su Weifeng took the phone and stood up again and opened the cabinet and then took out a black box from the top cabinet. "Hey, there is this box in the cabinet. Why didn't I see it before?" Qiao Yushan was suddenly curious. Su Weifeng took out a small object from the box without explanation, then put the box away and went back to bed. Qiao Yushan immediately moved to Su Weifeng's side and looked at him seriously, wanting to know what he was going to do. Then she saw Su Weifeng open her phone case, put a small transparent plastic piece in it, and then put the phone case back together. "What is this?" "A locator," Su Weifeng said with a smile. "From now on, wherever you go, I can directly determine your location. If you are in danger, just press and hold the 0 button and my phone will receive an alarm." Chapter 225 Positioning. Is it true? Even though Qiao Yushan was a CEO, she still showed a childlike curiosity when she heard what Su Weifeng said. Su Weifeng handed the phone to Qiao Yushan and said, "Of course it's true. Try it and see if it works." Qiao Yushan took the phone and pressed her finger on the 0 key. After 5 or 6 seconds, Su Weifeng's phone vibrated. Su Weifeng picked up the phone and said, "Look, I know where you are now." "Oh my god, so magical. It can even locate the floor." Qiao Yushan looked at the screen of Su Weifeng's phone. There was a map software on it. The location it was locating was exactly this building, and it even located the floor and house number. Su Weifeng said, "It's just a gadget." "A gadget? If it is implanted into general map software, it will definitely greatly improve the accuracy. If a new map software is developed, it will definitely beat other map software in one fell swoop." Su Weifeng had to hit Qiao Yushan and said, "I'm sorry, this is the most advanced technology. There are only a few satellites for this kind of service. If you want to popularize it to civilians, the conditions are not yet met." Qiao Yushan couldn't help but say with some disappointment, "That's a pity," but immediately said excitedly, "Even if it can't be used now, I think it won't be long before it will be popularized to civilians. I really didn't expect that the current technological level of our country has reached this point." Su Weifeng smiled and said, "In fact, the level of technology, military use will always be ahead of civilian use. Generally, a new generation of military technology will be launched before the old military technology will be eliminated for civilian use." Qiao Yushan nodded and said, "I can understand this, but as a businessman, when I see leading technology, I instinctively have such a reaction and want to seize this market." Su Weifeng shook his head and said, "I've been misled by you. Let's talk about how to use it now." Qiao Yushan also put away her thoughts and said, "This thing is good, but can you know where I'm at any time and anywhere? Do I have no privacy?" Su Weifeng said, "This can only know where you are, but can't see your image. Why should I stare at you all the time? Then I feel a little uncomfortable." Qiao Yushan smiled bitterly. Su Weifeng said, "Don't worry, I won't just look at where you are, unless you take the initiative to tell me your location. I will rush there as soon as possible. If you really feel uncomfortable, I will take down the positioning device." Qiao Yushan looked at Su Weifeng, then shook her head and said, "Having such a thing is at least a guarantee from me, so keep it." Su Weifeng shrugged his shoulders and said, "It's up to you. I hope you will never use it." When he was with Qiao Yushan, Su Weifeng would unconsciously become more serious and not as relaxed as he was with Lin Zhuangsun. After finishing the business, Su Weifeng felt that there was nothing to talk about with Qiao Yushan, so he picked up his phone and started watching videos. However, in order not to disturb Qiao Yushan, he put on headphones. "Are these all taken by Zhuangsun Company?" Qiao Yushan asked after a while. Su Weifeng took off his headphones and said, "Yes, they were taken by Zhuangsun Company. They are not bad and very classy." "Then I'll take a look too. I've been really tired these days and I need to relax." Su Weifeng sat on the head of the bed, shoulders touching shoulders. Su Weifeng put the phone on his legs, and one of them put an earphone in his ear, so that both of them could see clearly. After watching for a while, Qiao Yushan couldn't help but praise, "This is really well shot. It's getting more and more like a short film." Su Weifeng smiled slightly, and said, "Zhuangsun is a very talented person. I believe she will have a good development in this field." Qiao Yushan tilted her head, and looked at Su Weifeng, and said, "Do you trust her so much?" Su Weifeng smiled slightly, and said, "Yes, because I'm starting a company with her now." "What? You two are starting a company together?" Qiao Yushan looked at Su Weifeng in surprise. "Yes, I feel Zhuangsun is very talented in this area. It just so happens that a friend of mine works for a large film and television company, so I asked him to invest some money, and I also bought some shares. On weekends, we take the company's employees out for team building. I really didn't expect that Zhuangxuan was so optimistic. Qiao Yushan's mouth twitched and said, "It seems that I really looked at her with a prejudiced eye before." After blaming herself for a few words, Qiao Yushan said, "This girl didn't tell me all this time. Is she angry with me? That's not the case. Although we have obtained financing and the scale of the company has grown, Zhuangxuan still wants to make real achievements before telling you. I don't think she is angry with you. She just wants to prove to you that she is not fooling around." Qiao Yushan quickly grasped the key point and said, "Then this is not a short-term thing. Why didn't you tell me before, but tell me now?" Su Weifeng smiled bitterly and said, "You two are hiding things from each other, and I'm tired of following you. Just like today, you didn't communicate well in advance, and almost got exposed, so I think it's better to say something." "That's true. But it's more about the fact that we didn't communicate the best when we changed people. I'll be more serious next time." Qiao Yushan shook her head and said, "This Zhuangxuan has a strong sense of self-esteem. I'll pretend I don't know about this. I'm very confident in your ability to do things. With you taking care of her, she won't take detours. She's willing to hide it from me, so let her keep it a secret." Su Weifeng nodded and said, "Okay, otherwise I'll feel like I've betrayed Zhuangxuan." Qiao Yushan rolled her eyes at Su Weifeng in annoyance and said, "Humph, don't hide anything about you and her from me in the future. Don't forget, I'm your real girlfriend, and she's just pretending to be me temporarily. Don't confuse the difference and follow her to deceive me. Got it?" Su Weifeng smiled a little awkwardly and said quickly, "Look, I'm reporting the situation to you. I've told you everything that Zhuangxuan doesn't want you to know." Qiao Yushan nodded and said, "This is somewhat plausible. Otherwise, I think we can just let Zhuangxuan pretend to be your girlfriend, and I can back out without any problem." Having said this, Qiao Yushan was stunned for a moment, then frowned, obviously analyzing the feasibility of this matter. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.